Chapter 21. Gu Lingqing took his clothes, quickly twisted the buttons, opened the door and went out. Su Jiran turned around and saw a set of clothes that was exactly the same as the one he was wearing. He smiled evilly and threw the clothes to the salesperson. I don't like clothes worn by others. Change one for me. The salesperson was slightly stunned. She looked at Gu Lingqing and blushed. Gu Lingqing's figure was better than that of a model. The clothes on him perfectly displayed all of his strong points. He had broad shoulders and a narrow waist. His whole body exuded the smell of hormones, which made people jealous. There was such a good-looking person in the world. Gu Lingqing walked past Su Jiran indifferently, ignoring his sarcasm. He handed the clothes to the cashier and said in a low voice, "Wrap it up for me." "Yes, sir." "Do you want to pay in cash or Alipay?" the salesperson asked shyly. Gu Lingqing handed the black card to the salesperson. Black card? This kind of card was not something that ordinary rich people could get. The person in front of him must be a powerful person. Su Jiran's eyes were misty and locked on Gu Lingqing. He smiled evilly. He took out the black card, held it between his index and middle fingers, and handed it to the salesperson lazily. "Except for the one on that person's hand. Wrap up all the 190 black cards for me." The salesperson's eyes lit up. Had she run into some dog shit luck today? A cool and handsome guy, full of abstinence. A charming handsome man that made people blush and their hearts beat faster. The point was that they were all rich people. "Okay," the salesperson said excitedly. Gu Lingqing turned around and glanced at Su Jiran indifferently. He clearly saw the provocation in Su Jiran's eyes. There was no ripple or fluctuation in his calm eyes. He stood straight. Su Jiran felt that he was asking for trouble. He took out a golden business card from his wallet and put it on the counter. "Send it to this address." "Okay." The salesperson took his business card respectfully. Su Jiran showed an evil smile again, turned around, pushed the door open and went out. Wow, so handsome. Is this man a star? His temperament is so good. All the salespeople in the room were infatuated. Gu Lingqing's eyes darkened. They were as deep as the ocean. He took the clothes and walked to the door of the changing room. He knocked twice. "He's gone. Come out." Baya walked out and looked at the receipt in his hand. "How much?" "I said I would buy it. I've already paid. Let's talk about it later." Gu Lingqing looked at her deeply. Baya felt a little guilty being stared at like that. I just happen to have something on, so I'll be leaving first. I know what you like. I'll buy it for you next time. I'll send you back," Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. For some reason, Baya felt that he was not in a good mood. It was almost the same as when they first met. She also felt uneasy. "No need. I have an appointment with my little sister." Baya nodded at him and left as if he was fleeing. Gu Lingqing looked at her back view and furrowed his eyebrows. His sharp facial features became more and more defined. He called Su Changhao and used a commanding tone. "Come out and have a drink with me." Su Changhao paused. "I have an appointment with my friend at Water Cloud International. Do you want to come along? I'll be there in a while." Gu Lingqing hung up and walked out quickly. Baya walked out of Water Moon International. She walked alone on the road. Some things could not be solved by running away. She had to face what she had to face. She called Su Jiran. Su Jiran picked up the call. There was silence on the other side. "I want to have a calm talk with you. Are you free?" Baya asked coldly. "I'm at your house." Su Jiran hung up the phone after he said that. Baya recalled what happened earlier and felt a lingering fear in her heart. She bought a pepper spray at the pharmacy before going back. Su Jiran sat on the sofa. He was playing with his phone with his long index and middle fingers. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised. He seemed to be in a good mood. She sat opposite him. She accidentally saw the screen where he was chatting with someone. "Ruthless man. My wife didn't agree at first, but she agreed when she heard that you were coming. Brother Jie, you are so charming. Unruly man. Besides your family, who else is coming?" "Ruthless man. Old Lee is coming with his new favorite. She is a movie star with a hot body. Brother Jie, will your wife be coming too?" Su Jiran looked at Baya. Baya looked away. She knew that Unruly Man was Su Jiran's online nickname. Ruthless Man was probably his friend. We are going to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. Are you free? Baya asked softly. A hint of anger flashed past Su Jiran's eyes. He put away his phone and said, accompany me to a place tonight. Where? Baya was on guard. You'll know when you get there. I don't want to go. Baya rejected him directly. Su Jiran raised the corner of his mouth. Don't you want to get what you want? You know, if you piss me off, you will have a miserable life in the future. You will lose your job as a doctor if I say you have it. Baya couldn't help but feel disgusted with him. How much water must have gone into her brain to have fallen for such a filthy person like him? Why are you bringing me there tonight? Baya asked suspiciously and narrowed her eyes. She wanted to weigh the situation and assess the situation. To meet up with Zhang Zi and the others. Zhang Zi's online nickname is Ruthless Man. They really want to meet you, Su Jiran said casually. We are going to get a divorce. There is no need for me to meet your friends. It will be awkward for us to meet them in the future, won't it? Baya stood up. I don't know if it will be awkward in the future, but if you don't go this time, it will make me feel awkward. You know the consequences of offending me. Go change your clothes and let's go, Su Jiran said firmly. You will agree to the divorce after we get there, right? Baya asked coldly. Su Jiran raised his chin arrogantly and looked at her in disdain. He smirked and said, what do you think is the reason why I won't get a divorce? I know. I'll leave after changing. Baya entered the room and locked the door. She did not like Su Jiran's friends. They were the same as Su Jiran. They hunted women by nature and exuded an air of extravagance from head to toe. It made her feel uncomfortable. She purposely wore a pair of jeans, running shoes and a conservative plaid shirt. Her hair was tied up in an old-fashioned bun, and she wore a pair of black-rimmed glasses. She was as old-fashioned as she could be. After today, she could say goodbye to those scumbags. When Baya came out of the room, Su Jiran frowned unhappily. Are you from the countryside? Why are you dressed so old-fashioned? What's wrong? I've always been this old-fashioned, Baya said indifferently. There was a hint of provocation in her eyes. Su Jiran shrugged and smiled wickedly. Nothing much? It's quite nice to dress like this. It's very special and looks quite pure. Baya did not like the look in his eyes. It was as if he was treating her as prey. It was very dangerous. Chapter 22. As Baya drove, she glanced at Su Jiran in the rearview mirror. He was texting with his head down. One side of his hair fell down, covering half of his eyes and leaving a shadow on the bridge of his nose. To be fair, this man was not bad looking. He was full of charm, and women would be moved by his gestures. Even if he did not have the money and power behind him, with his temperament and looks, many girls would still like him. She would not be one of those girls. He looked like heaven, but he was actually hell. Su Jiran glanced at Baya and smiled. His voice softened a little. What are you looking at? Don't look at me with such an infatuated gaze every time. I will vomit. Baya looked away and looked straight ahead. Su Jiran could always make people feel uncomfortable. Forget it. She was too lazy to explain. She would quickly get a divorce tomorrow and live separately. Su Jiran's mood improved a little, and he replied to the message. She is already on her way, Su Jiran replied. That's great. My wife has been waiting for Brother Jia for a long time. She will give Brother Jia a big surprise later, Zhang Zi said excitedly. Su Jiran did not reply. He looked at Baya gloomily. She had put her hair up, revealing her fair neck. The line at the back of her neck was very beautiful. He seemed to be reluctant to let Zhang Zi and the others play with her. Behave well tonight, Su Jiran said meaningfully. If she behaved well, he might let her off. He had asked her to attend this gathering to scare her. Who asked her to be so disobedient? Half an hour later, the car stopped at the entrance of the room of clouds and water. Su Jiran got out of the back seat first. Without looking at her, he ordered, "Follow me." Baya clutched her bag tightly and followed him to the door of room 302. He knocked on the door using the Su family's password. He knocked twice, paused, knocked 3 times, paused again and knocked again. The door opened. Baya saw a young and beautiful woman wearing a strange outfit that looked like a swimsuit. She had a headband with rabbit ears and a rabbit tail at the back of the swimsuit. She blushed and smiled sweetly at Sujieron. "Brother Jie, you're here. I've been waiting for you for a long time." Baya's heart skipped a beat. He had a strange feeling. "Brother Jie, she's my wife. Isn't she pretty?" Zhangzi gasped. Baya subconsciously looked at Zhangzi. He was carrying a girl. The girl looked very familiar. She was a 7th or 8th tier actress called Song something. There was a man standing behind the girl. He seemed to be Sujieron's friend, but she couldn't name him. No matter how stupid he was, he knew what they were doing. Baya turned around, wanting to leave. Sujieron held her hand, pushed her into the house, and locked the door. Baya slapped Sujieron's face. She was so angry that her eyes were bloodshot. "You're so disgusting." Sujieron's eyes flashed sharply. He grabbed Baya's wrist. "You should learn how to please other women." "Let me out." Baya pulled her hand out. He pushed hard, and Baya was pushed onto the sofa. Before she could get up, he sat beside her and clamped her arm. With a livid face, he ordered Xiaonu. "Show her what a woman should do to make a man like her." "Yes, Brother Jie." The charming woman smiled and stood in front of Sujieron. She touched his face. Baya turned her face away. She felt like she was about to vomit. Her stomach churned uncomfortably, and she covered her mouth. Sujieron clamped her chin and turned her to face him smugly. "Do you know why I don't like you now?" Sujieron's lips curled into an evil smile, and his tone was disdainful. "Thank you for not liking me. Hurry up and leave. I don't belong to the same world as people like you," Baya said coldly. Sujieron gritted his teeth. He was even more displeased. He flung Baya's chin away and said coldly, "Zhangzi, she's yours. You can do whatever you want tonight." "Okay. Thank you, Brother Jie," Zhangzi said excitedly. Baya looked at him. She couldn't help but feel disgusted. She ran to the washroom and vomited. Sujieron stared at Baya, his eyes sharp. Zhangzi also ran to the washroom and shouted, "Sister-in-law, you're so beautiful. I've wanted to have you since the first day I saw you." Baya felt disgusted, and her hair stood on end. She couldn't help but shiver. Sujieron was a scumbag. His friends were indeed scumbags. She looked at Sujieron and met his sharp gaze. The fear in her eyes became clear. The more afraid she was, the more she couldn't change the situation. She wanted to escape. Baya lowered her head and looked at Zhangzi. "Kneel." Zhangzi was stunned, and he really did kneel. Baya frowned and kicked Zhangzi away. Zhangzi looked at Baya with a teasing expression. "So sister-in-law has a special hobby. Do you have rope and tape?" Baya asked patiently. "Sister-in-law, this is?" Zhangzi was stunned. Obviously, he didn't expect the usually elegant Baya to behave like this. "Don't you want it?" Baya asked. Yes, Zhangzi said cheekily. Baya walked into the room next door. Sujieron frowned, feeling a little annoyed. Zhangzi sneakily took the tools and entered the room. Baya retracted her gaze from the window. They were on the 3rd floor, 6 meters above the ground. Even if she fell from the 3rd floor, she probably wouldn't die. "Sister-in-law, I brought you what you wanted." Zhangzi looked at Baya and handed her the rope and tape. Baya took the tools from Zhangzi and glanced at the chair. "Sit down." Hearing this, Zhangzi took the opportunity to sit down. Baya tied him up a few times to make sure he couldn't break free. "Sister-in-law, this is a little tight." Zhangzi struggled a few times, but he couldn't break free. "That's right. What a scumbag." Baya felt that talking to him was disgusting, so she simply sealed his mouth, opened the window, and climbed out of it. Zhangzi saw that Baya was leaving and groaned. Chapter 23. Seems like Zhangzi is having a lot of fun. Mr. Chen was tempted. After Zhangzi, it should be his turn. Baya was a stunning beauty. She was cold, arrogant, and not easy to get close to. He had thoughts about her for a long time. This was a chance for him to get intimate with her. He had brought the medicine that could last for a long time. He wanted to enjoy himself to the fullest this time. It did not matter if he did not want to move for the next 2 days. If he missed this opportunity, It would probably be difficult for him to be with Baya again. Su Jiran glanced at Mr. Chen. Although Mr. Chen was moving vigorously, his eyes were fixed on the room that Baya was in. He was annoyed. His wife was being coveted, and he was not happy. He pushed Xiaonu away and walked towards Baya's room. Baya was still hanging on the window. She wanted to step on the air conditioner shelf on the second floor, but there was a little distance. The person on the second floor opened the window. "Beauty, do you need help?" A man's voice sounded. Baya was afraid to meet a scumbag like Zhang Zi again, so she did not dare to answer. She saw someone knocking on the door and was scared. "Yes, thank you." Su Changhao carried a chair to the window, stepped on it, and carried Baya in. He said in surprise, "It's you. You know me?" Baya was suspicious. Gu Lingqing heard Baya's voice and looked up at Baya. "Why are you here?" Baya was shocked to hear Gu Lingqing's voice. However, seeing that it was him, she felt a lot more at ease. "It's a long story." Baya was ashamed to say it. After this incident, she and Su Jiran really couldn't go on any further. Su Changhao looked at Gu Lingqing, then at Baya. Gu Lingqing came in, drank, asked him, and said nothing. He rarely felt so depressed. It probably had something to do with Baya. "Did you drink?" Su Changhao asked Baya. Baya did not understand why Su Changhao asked that, but he still answered honestly, "No." "Why?" "You came just in time. We all drank." Lingqing drank the most. "He didn't bring anyone with him today. Please send him back," Su Changhao said with a smile. Baya looked at Gu Lingqing, feeling a little confused. If she refused, it would seem mean. After all, they had just saved her life. If she didn't reject him, her heart would twist again. She didn't want to have too much interaction with Gu Lingqing. "Let's go. I have something to do." Gu Lingqing stood up and handed the car key to Baya. Baya took the key from him and realized what a stupid thing he had done. In the car no one spoke. It was very quiet. Gu Lingqing sat in the back seat. His eyes were fixed on Baya in the rearview mirror. The flickering light from the street lamp dyed his dark eyes. There seemed to be a ferocious beast in it. "Baya!" Gu Lingqing shouted. He suddenly called out. Baya was shocked. "Yes. I remember you owe me a meal, right?" Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. "Oh yes. There's a supermarket in front. Go buy some groceries. I haven't had dinner yet." Gu Lingqing used a commanding tone. He did not allow anyone to reject him. Baya thought that he had to pay back what he owed, so he did not reject him. "What do you want to eat?" Baya asked softly. "Will you give me whatever I want to eat?" Gu Lingqing asked back. His tone was very strange. It was easy to misunderstand. Baya's face was slightly red. "That depends on whether the supermarket sells it or not." Gu Lingqing was a little annoyed. He drank too much just now. So he was talking nonsense. "Do what you're good at." Gu Lingqing forced himself to calm down. Soon, they arrived at the supermarket. Baya pushed the cart to the food section. Gu Lingqing put his hand on the cart gently. He did not say anything. From the looks of it, they looked like a young couple. Baya put carrots, onions, meat slices, winter gourd, spare ribs, and eggs on the cart. She pushed the cart to the seafood section. "It's lobster season now. Lobster is what I'm best at. Do you want some?" Baya asked. "Yes." He made this sound from his throat. A trace of uneasiness flashed in his secretive eyes. Baya's phone rang. She saw that it was Su Jiran's call. She frowned. She also had something to tell him. "I'll take this." She walked to the side and answered. "Where is it?" Su Jiran asked impatiently as he drove. "I've had enough of this kind of life. When are you going to divorce?" Baya was even more impatient. "You were the one who insisted on marrying me. Now you want a divorce. I'm sorry. I haven't played enough with you." Su Jiran hung up the phone angrily. Baya had the urge to smash the phone. Her fingernails were white as she held the phone. "You want a divorce?" Gu Lingqing stood next to her without her knowing. Baya paused. It was always embarrassing to be seen by others with her unbearable family affairs. "Yes," she answered. She did not want to say more. She went to the seafood section to choose lobsters. Gu Lingqing looked at her delicate back. His mood, which had been gloomy for the whole evening, improved a little. When they walked to the queue, there were especially many people. It was the golden time to cook dinner and buy groceries. They had already lined up more than 20. Baya looked at the onions and thought that it would take a long time for them to get their turn. She said to Gu Lingqing, "You queue here. I'll go and get a box of chewing gum." "Yes." Gu Lingqing nodded. Baya turned around to look for the chewing gum. Gu Lingqing saw that there were too many people, so he made a phone call. "I'm now queuing at the supermarket under Shuiyu International. There are too many people. Call someone to deal with it." Baya came over with the chewing gum. Gu Lingqing stood at the cashier. There was no one behind him. Baya walked over in surprise. She saw that the other cashiers were all people. "Why don't they come here to pay?" Gu Lingqing put the chewing gum in her hand into the plastic bag. "There's no need to pay here." He took the bag and went out. Baya followed and asked suspiciously, "Did you abuse your military power?" "No, this supermarket is owned by my family." "Baya." Gu Lingqing opened the trunk and put the plastic bag in. Baya saw that the supplies that Lu Shuang bought for her were also placed in the trunk. She blushed. She quickly went to get the car. This time, Gu Lingqing did not sit in the back seat, but in the front passenger seat. "Help me fasten the seatbelt," Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baya felt that his request made her feel uneasy. Maybe he was used to being served by the orderlies. She got closer to him and pulled the seatbelt over. Gu Lingqing looked at her pink face, and his breath fell on her face. It was the smell of alcohol that had not dissipated. It had a charming smell. Baya looked up at him. He reached out and pressed the back of her head. His lips fell on hers. Baya widened her eyes and stepped back. However, his hand was too strong. She could not retreat at all. Chapter 24. Wild, domineering, raging, with a strong sense of male hormones, went straight to her brain. In the past, she had thought that Gu Lingqing's feelings for her were just wishful thinking. But what about now? Yet, thoughts about her. Baya's heart was beating so fast that it felt like it was going to jump out of her throat. She pushed Gu Lingqing's shoulder. She was almost out of oxygen, and her brain was buzzing and getting hotter. After a long time, he let go of her. His deep eyes reflected the two of her. Baya slapped his face casually. He was a soldier, and his speed was unparalleled. He grabbed her wrist in an instant. Baya was angry and said in a heavy tone, "Do you think I'm a loose woman? So I can let men kiss me without feeling ashamed?" "I'm not a loose man," Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baya's heart trembled. She couldn't figure out what Gu Lingqing meant. She just felt that this sentence was too ambiguous and had a strong sense of invasion. "You're drunk. I'm a married woman." Baya's voice was trembling. She immediately drew a line between them. Gu Lingqing's eyes darkened, and he let go of her hand. He closed his eyes and leaned against the chair, looking a little gloomy. Drive? How could she dare to drive when he was like this? "I'm not going." Baya was afraid of touching him and pushed the door open. "Before I change my mind, you'd better listen to me. I can't promise you what will happen if you disobey me." Gu Lingqing looked at her. His deep eyes, sharp eyebrows, and cold expression displayed his boldness and oppressive aura. He wasn't joking with her. Baya was a little broken under his pressure. He was a big leader, and she was a small doctor. She didn't dare to provoke him. "What are you doing?" Baya closed the door sullenly. "I also want to know what I want to do," Gu Lingqing said irritably. He turned his face away and closed his eyes again to rest. His chest heaved up and down, showing his unstable heart, but it was suppressed by his maturity and experience. Baya glanced at Gu Lingqing. They were both mature men and women. They understood the things between men and women. Sometimes, just two lonely souls snuggling up to each other. She didn't want to be like Su Jiran. Therefore, he had always been strict with himself and maintained his bottom line. He would not play with his emotions, let alone his body. Baya drove his car into his military base. Gu Lingqing opened his eyes. In his deep eyes, there was no end to them. "Keep driving straight, turn at the third intersection, and keep driving for 1 kilometer." Baya followed his instructions, and after a while, she heard the door of his apartment. In fact, she knew him. Last time she came here, it was Lieutenant Colonel Shang who sent her back. Seeing Gu Lingqing's car coming over, Lieutenant Colonel Shang immediately ran over and opened the door respectfully. Gu Lingqing stepped out of the car first. Baiya got out of the car by herself. He didn't even look at Baiya, walked into the room, and ordered, "Give me the hangover medicine." Baiya felt that he was in a bad mood, which made her feel a little depressed. This man was very strange. She opened the trunk and took out the plastic bag. Lieutenant Colonel Shang took it. Baiya forgot to take a look at the gift Lu Shuang gave her. She didn't take it, but closed the trunk door. She went straight into the kitchen. Gu Lingqing finished drinking the hangover soup. Looking at her busy figure, his eyes became deeper. He picked up his book and started reading, but his mind was not on the book at all. The feeling of kissing her was very good. If it wasn't for her reluctance, he would have done it with her in the car. He was a man of abstinence. He couldn't understand why he had such a strong urge toward her. An hour passed in a state of confusion. The rich aroma of food wafted out from the kitchen. Gu Lingqing put down his book and walked into the kitchen. "It will be a while before we can eat," Baiya explained. He glanced at the table. The vegetables were all washed, cut and stewed. The smell of the crayfish was especially strong. "Do you cook often?" Gu Lingqing asked. "I used to do it when I lived with my mother." His eyes gradually narrowed, and he was faintly displeased. "Don't you cook for your husband?" "He doesn't eat what I cook," she said calmly. Thinking of Su Jiaran saying that he wouldn't eat what he cooked, she felt a flash of pain in her heart. It wasn't that she still loved him, but she just felt that she wasn't worth it. "He hasn't eaten it before?" Gu Lingqing's eyes gradually relaxed. "Yes," Baiya replied and scooped out the crayfish. "The other dishes will have to wait for a while. You can eat the crayfish first." Baiya carried the crayfish, passed by him, and placed it on the table. "You seem to be saying that you want to eat crayfish, right?" Gu Lingqing asked calmly. "There should be a lot of people who like to eat it." Baiya passed him again, and went back to the kitchen. When she came out with the dishes, she saw that Gu Lingqing had already peeled a lot of crayfish. But he didn't eat it. He placed the crayfish neatly on the plate, and the plate was filled with soup. When she came out, he handed the plate to her and said in a low voice, "I'm allergic to crayfish. You eat it." Baiya. She was touched. He was the first man who was willing to peel crayfish for her. But she was also a rational person. She was a married woman, and she had no future with an outstanding general with a bright future. She served the dishes and helped Gu Lingqing scoop some rice. He lowered his head to eat and didn't say anything else. She also ate and didn't touch the crayfish he peeled. Gu Lingqing glanced at her, and his eyes were filled with anger. "Are you eating or not?" Baiya paused and found an excuse. "I like to peel and eat by myself." He picked up a piece of crayfish and put it in his mouth. Baiya was a little surprised. Wasn't he allergic to crayfish? He pressed the back of her head and fed the crayfish into her mouth. Baiya's heart was beating wildly. She held the crayfish in her mouth, not knowing whether to eat it or spit it out. Gu Lingqing let go of her and looked at her red lips. "If you want me to feed you like this, you can choose not to eat it." Baiya sat there awkwardly. He who was giving orders ate calmly. She could only finish the crayfish in her stomach and look at him. He glanced at her. She quickly picked up a crayfish and put it in her mouth. Gu Lingqing raised the corner of his mouth. He seemed to be smiling. "Am I that scary?" Gu Lingqing asked. Baiya laughed. "Chief, what do you think? Eat slowly. I'll peel more for you. It's all for you to eat." Gu Lingqing's tone became a little gentler. "Baiya, do you like me?" Baiya didn't like to play around and asked directly. Chapter 25. So what if I like him? So what if I don't like him? Gu Lingqing asked meaningfully. "I'm a married woman. I don't want to step on the bottom line of morality. I'm not someone who wants to play with people's feelings. I believe that there are many people who like him. He doesn't need to walk on the edge of a knife," Baiya answered seriously. Gu Lingqing looked at her deeply. His dark eyes seemed calm, but there was a fierce undercurrent in them. Walking on the edge of a knife, interesting. Gu Lingqing said ambiguously and curled up the corner of his mouth. Plus, I just got to know him. We haven't met many times. Maybe we have a good impression of each other, but it's better to stop. Baya explained. She was very clear and straightforward. She believed that Gu Lingqing was a smart person and could understand what she meant. Gu Lingqing glanced at her bowl and chopsticks. Let's eat. Baya lowered her head to eat. The door was pushed open. Gu Tianheng stood at the door and looked at Baya sternly. Dad, why are you here? Gu Lingqing frowned slightly. Gu Tianheng walked over and threw the documents on the table. You've been too ridiculous recently. The military doctor of the special forces must be transferred from the military. How can ordinary doctors be qualified? Gu Tianheng questioned. This is my business. You seem to be overstepping your bounds. Gu Lingqing put down his chopsticks and leaned on the chair. Gu Tianheng didn't look at Baya. He looked at Gu Lingqing sternly and asked, Who is she? Who allowed you to bring a dubious woman to the military? A sharp light shot out from Gu Lingqing's eyes. He stood up, his whole body cold, and his voice was very low. Reporting to the vice president, this is my special military region, not your parliament, and definitely not your CIA. If you think I've neglected my duty, you can report it. Don't interfere in my private life. If there's nothing else, I won't see you out. What kind of tone is that? If she's a spy or sent by my political enemies, you're ruining your future. Gu Tianheng was so angry that his teeth itched. If she is, you can send me to the military court to await the country's punishment. You don't have to care about our father-son relationship. But before she is, you have no right to interfere with my relationship with anyone. Gu Lingqing said indifferently. You are destroying your own future. That's also my business. Feeling helpless, Gu Tianheng ordered domineeringly. You must attend tomorrow's banquet. Otherwise, I'll announce to the media on Tuesday that Su Xiaoling is Gu Lingqing's fiancée, the acknowledged daughter-in-law of the Liu family. Do you think this is interesting? Gu Lingqing said arrogantly. He loathed the arranged life. Of course. I'm doing this for your own good. Gu Tianheng said in a professional manner. He looked at Baya and said sternly. Don't ever step into the military area again. This is not a place you can come to. Even if you want to be despicable, you'd better know your place first. Baya stood up. He naturally felt uncomfortable being scolded like that. She walked towards the door. Gu Lingqing held her arm and looked at Gu Tianheng coldly. She is a friend I invited. You cannot understand, but please respect her. Respect. Gu Tianheng took out a gun and pointed it at Gu Lingqing's head. Just because you disobeyed your father, I can kill you. Gu Lingqing took a step forward and put his forehead against the muzzle of the gun. He was fearless and looked death calmly. The gun was already on the trigger. Gu Tianheng could not bring himself to do this, so he put away the gun. Gu Lingqing was stubborn and fearful. The atmosphere was so weird that it was scary. Baya's heart jumped to her throat. I really should go. My husband is still waiting for me at home. Baya pried Gu Lingqing's hand away and bowed to Gu Lingqing. Thank you for risking your life to save me. I was rude. She then turned to Gu Tianheng, bowed and explained. Please don't misunderstand the chief. I think the army and the people are a family. Last time, the chief saved me in the hostage case. I want to cook a meal to thank him. If you don't like it, I won't step into this place again. You guys take your time. I'll leave first. She could be considered to have fled in panic, not even turning her head back. Is she here to thank you? A married woman? After hearing Baya's explanation, Gu Tianheng was relieved. He took the opportunity to put away the gun and find a way out of this embarrassing situation. Gu Lingqing did not reply. She called, Lieutenant Colonel Shang. Lieutenant Colonel Shang came in and nodded in fear. Send her back. Gu Lingqing ordered. Yes. As soon as Baya walked to the door, Lieutenant Colonel Shang rushed out. Miss Bai, wait. The chief asked me to send you back. There's no need. I'll take a taxi back myself. Baya refused. I also have something to talk to Miss Gu about, Lieutenant Colonel Shang said. What? Let's talk in the car. Lieutenant Colonel Shang opened the car door. Baya could only get into Lieutenant Colonel Shang's car. Lieutenant Colonel Shang looked at Baya in the rearview mirror politely. I think the chief likes you, Lieutenant Colonel Shang said bluntly. Baya blushed. We're not suitable for each other. If other women kissed the chief, he would definitely push them away. I've been with him for 3 years. He is famous for not being close to women. But that night when you were drunk and kissed the chief, he didn't push you away, Lieutenant Colonel Shang explained. Baya looked at Lieutenant Colonel Shang in shock. That night, she was drunk and didn't remember anything when she woke up. She asked him what she said and what she did. He said nothing. It turned out that she kissed him. Baya felt very uncomfortable. Her chest was moving up and down violently. Well, I'm married. I have a husband. Married? Lieutenant Colonel Shang was a little surprised. He smiled awkwardly. Having sex outside of marriage would stain the chief's bright political future. He was really being nosy this time. He felt that he had made a mistake. Ha ha ha, I'm just talking nonsense. Our chief has a woman he loves. That night, he must have seen that you were drunk and didn't make a fuss about it. Sometimes, our chief is too embarrassed to reject girls who don't know the truth. I was thinking too much. Aha. Lieutenant Colonel Shang immediately changed his words. Baya paused for a moment. So he had a woman he loved. Then his feelings for her might be the passion between a mature man and a woman. It came quickly and left quickly. Her beating heart calmed down quietly. One of them was in heaven, and the other was on earth. It was impossible for them to be friends. Lieutenant Colonel Shang looked at Baya leaning against the window. He cleared his throat and asked, "Where are you going?" Baya came back to her senses. "Send me to the hospital." Her phone rang. Baya saw that it was an unfamiliar number. She picked it up. "Thank you for just now." Gu Lingqing's voice came from the other end of the phone. Baya was a little nervous when she received his call. "Well, I'm just being honest. You did save me. I treated you to a meal to thank you. You want to deny that you saved my life just because of a meal?" Gu Lingqing said with a chuckle. His tone was charming and ambiguous. Chapter 26. She felt that Gu Lingqing was taking advantage of her. She was just being polite. "Didn't I put myself in danger because I helped you?" Baya said softly. Heh. Gu Lingqing chuckled, and his tone became much gentler. "I won't force you. Have a good rest." Baya had a strange feeling. He felt like a warm man on the phone, which was different from when they met. "You have a good rest too. I'm hanging up." Baya hung up the phone after she finished speaking. Lieutenant Colonel Shang glanced at Baya and didn't say anything. He sent Baya back to the hospital. When he returned to the military, he received a call from the chief. "Did she go home?" Gu Lingqing asked. "No, she said she was sent to the hospital." Lieutenant Colonel Shang reported truthfully. "Okay, got it." Gu Lingqing hung up the phone. It was better for her to go back to the hospital than to go home. At 8 o'clock the next morning, Lu Shuang rushed to Baya's office. "Baya, that B*TCH is suing you. The hospital wants to punish you. I heard that she wants you to be fired," Lu Shuang said worriedly. "The B*TCH you're talking about is the pregnant woman who was sent here the other day?" Baya asked suspiciously. "Yes. Why did you cut her down there?" "Her baby's umbilical cord is around her neck. If I don't cut her, the baby will suffocate. I didn't do anything wrong. Why would the hospital punish me?" Baya said confidently. "I heard that someone from above pressured me. I'll go and ask later." "Who did it? Could it be Su Jiran?" "But he has no reason to do so." A light flashed in Baya's eyes. "It should be her. She called Su Jiran." "Isn't it too late to think of me now?" Su Jiran said in a strange tone. "What exactly do you want?" Baya asked anxiously. "I've said it before. If you piss me off, it won't do you any good. Now I'll give you an hour to go home. If it's more than an hour, you'll have to bear the consequences." Su Jiran hung up the phone without giving her a chance to speak. "What did he say?" Lu Shuang asked with concern. "Let me go back. I will ask the director for leave," Baya said helplessly. "Why bother with him? Let him eat *T. Lu Shuang said angrily. "He's from the health bureau. The hospital won't offend him. I'll go." Things have to be resolved eventually. I'll contact him later. Baya packed his things and went back. She arrived home. Su Jiran crossed his legs and lay lazily on the sofa. He saw Baya coming back. He smirked and looked at his watch. 48 o'clock, very punctual. Good boy. He picked up a paper bag from his feet and threw it on the coffee table, as if he was giving alms. This is your reward. See if you like it. Su Jiran, what do you want? You're already free. Why do you have to make life difficult for me? Once I regret the divorce, you'll only have endless troubles. Baya tried to reason with him. When I'm tired of you, I'll get a divorce. But I have to be the one to ask for a divorce. You don't have the right, he said arrogantly. He took out a jewelry box and handed it to her. Put it on. She stood still and looked at the interest in Su Jiran's eyes. Then she took the jewelry box in annoyance. Su Jiran was a hunter. What he liked most was to watch his prey struggle, and then enjoy the fun of tracking and playing with it. Hunters were ruthless, focused, and wild. However, hunters would not only be interested in one prey. Baya opened the box and glanced at a pair of platinum diamond earrings. She closed the box and threw it on the coffee table. You don't like it? Su Jiran stared at her, and there was a hint of anger in his charming eyes. You know I don't like to wear these things. As a doctor, I can't wear them. But I'll treasure them, thank you, she said coldly. He picked up the earrings, pinched her ear domineeringly, and inserted them into her ear without allowing her to refuse. She had never worn them after she became a doctor. There was a stinging pain on her ear. She touched her ear and felt wet blood on it. She glared at Su Jiran in annoyance. If she had any feelings for him before, it would have been exhausted long ago. Su Jiran's lips curled up, but there was no smile in his charming eyes. He did not have any tender feelings for the fairer sex. He turned her face and forcefully inserted the other earring into her ear. Baya clenched her fists and suppressed the anger in her heart. A country bumpkin will always be a country bumpkin. Even if you wear gold and silver, you still look like a country bumpkin, Su Jiran said unhappily. As long as you sign the divorce agreement, I, a country bumpkin who annoys you, can leave without stopping, Baya said coldly. Su Jiran's displeasure deepened, and he glanced at another bag next to the sofa. There's a pair of shoes in there. Change into the clothes on the coffee table. Don't embarrass me. I'll wait for you in the car downstairs. See you in 10 minutes. He got up and walked outside. Baya was on the verge of anger. She took a piece of paper and wiped the blood on her ear. She opened the gift bag and saw a pink spaghetti strap skirt and a pair of red high heels in the paper bag. She threw the earrings into the box and closed it. She carried the 2 gift bags and went out. Su Jiran's car was parked at the entrance of the neighborhood. He was texting, and the corners of his mouth curled up. Baya was too familiar with that smile. There must be another prey that was about to fall into his trap. Baya opened the car door and threw the gift bag inside. Su Jiran, if you think that I'm embarrassing, you don't have to take me out. Baya slammed the car door. Su Jiran's eyes narrowed, and he narrowed them. You're challenging my patience. If you don't have patience, then don't see each other. Are you trying to be cheap? Baya said bluntly. A murderous look flashed in Su Jiran's eyes. He got out of the car, grabbed her hand, and threw her into the back seat. He sat next to her, looked ahead coldly, and ordered the chauffeur, drive to the airport. I don't want to go to the airport. What are you playing at? Baya was on guard. Su Jiran held her chin and turned her so that he was facing her. You'd better behave now. Otherwise, I might get interested and want you. Su Jiran warned coldly. Baya looked at the coldness in his eyes. Su Jiran was a beast. She absolutely believed that he would do such a thing. Baya lowered her eyes. Su Jiran let go of her when he saw that she had become docile. Baya looked out of the window. She really did not understand Su Jiran. She actually knew that Su Jiran did not love her, but why did he refuse to divorce her? He was a person who never made a loss. Could it be that he was planning something else? Su Jiran's phone rang. Minister Su, Governor Xing did not come to pick you up. The one who came to pick you up was his wife, Mrs. Xing, Su Jiran's subordinate reported. Well, has everything been arranged? Su Jiran asked with a smile. Chapter 27. Yes. All the cameras have been cut off. Saudi Arabia is now at the airport, Su Jiran's subordinate said. Baya was surprised. What did Su Jiran mean by arrangement? She had a feeling that a conspiracy was approaching. However, before she could figure it out, Su Jiran pulled her out of the car in a domineering manner. She walked toward the arrival gate. A few girls walked toward them. One of them was wearing an elegant blue floral dress. Her long hair fluttered in the wind. She looked like a beautiful woman from ancient times. She had an elegant temperament, and was elegant and refined. A slight smile from her was enough to topple a city. Upon closer inspection, she looked somewhat similar to Baya. Baya was slightly surprised when she saw her. She was Auntie Cheng's daughter, Xing Jinyan, her half-sister. This younger sister was only born 3 hours later than her. The two women gave birth at the same time. Xing Jinyan's mother was lying in the hospital, with more than a dozen doctors and nurses looking after her. Her mother, on the other hand, was rolling on the ground, screaming at the empty house. 3 masked people rushed out of the crowd. Baya came to her senses. They each held a gun, a knife, and a handkerchief in their hands. They quickly walked toward Xing Jinyan. Xing Jinyan looked at the masked people in fear, and stayed where she was. Su Jiran walked over with an evil smile. She put her arm around Baya's shoulder, and a bloodthirsty cruelty flashed in her eyes. She said to Baya, Xing Jinyan, long time no see. Baya's eyes widened in surprise. Why did Su Jiran call her that? The 3 masked people were also slightly surprised. They paused for 3 seconds. Why didn't the governor come to pick you up? Su Jiran said to Baya. The masked people thought that Baya was Xing Jinyan, so they changed their direction and walked toward Baya. One of them pointed a gun at Su Jiran's head. Su Jiran raised his hands and didn't move. Another person covered Baya's nose with a handkerchief. A strong smell of ether wafted through her nose. The 3 masked men held her hostage as they retreated step by step. She looked at Su Jiran drowsily. He stood protectively in front of Xing Jinyan, and smiled coquettishly as he watched her being taken away. So cruel and heartless. Suddenly, she seemed to understand something. Su Jiran liked Xing Jinyan. That was why he was suddenly pursuing her. She did not expect that he would put her in such a dangerous situation for the sake of his beloved woman. She seemed to hear the sound of her heart breaking. She closed her eyes and fell asleep in the thick darkness. Su Jiran reached out to the panic-stricken Xing Jinyan, and smiled charmingly. Follow me. Xing Jinyan held his hand without hesitation and ran with him. They were like a prince and a princess in a fairy tale, full of romance. They arrived at his car. Su Jiran rolled down the window. Jiran, are they here to capture me? I'm so scary. Xing Jinyan was still panicking and she patted her chest. Don't you think I'm scarier? Su Jiran smiled devilishly. Before Xing Jinyan could react, he leaned over and pressed his body against hers. He lowered his head and kissed her lips, searching for the taste of the past. The kiss became deeper and more intense. His hand slid into her shirt unrestrainedly. Don't. Xing Jinyan pushed him away. Huh. Don't what? Su Jiran didn't hide his desire for her. He pinched her leg, as if he was punishing her. Not here. Xing Jinyan pleaded with a blushing face. You don't have a choice. He kissed her lips again, passionately and madly. It was suffocating. As a playboy, he knew how to make a woman yield. Soon Xing Jinyan's eyes were intoxicated. He let go of her lips and his eyes became darker and more evil. He smiled. Do you want it? Xing Jinyan's face was flushed and she trembled slightly. He asked wickedly and bit her ear. I've missed you every night for the past 3 years. Xing Jinyan's eyes were filled with tears. She seemed touched. Yes, I missed you too. Really? If you haven't had electricity for 3 years, does that count as missing? Su Jiran said sarcastically. Xing Jinyan panted and her eyes wandered. I was locked up in the base's hospital, and there was no electricity at all. I wanted to contact you too. He moved his mouth to her ear and asked ambiguously. Then do you know what I like? Xing Jinyan placed her hand on his abdomen. After years of training, Sujieron had become more dangerous and seductive to women. She turned around and asked, "Are you still angry that I left without saying goodbye?" He ran his fingers through her hair to her neck and said seductively, "I won't forgive a woman who abandons me easily." "I didn't," she retorted. He pressed down on her neck, his eyes filled with hatred. He was like a crazy beast that wanted to tear the woman in front of him apart. This was the woman who had left without saying goodbye and betrayed him. And now, she was right in front of him. He only needed to exert a little bit of force to crush her neck. Sujieron's eyes flashed with a hint of joy. He had waited for 3 years just for this moment to punish this woman to his heart's content. He wanted to let her know that no one could afford to offend him. "Xiaonian," Sujieron called gently. Xing Jinyan looked at him. "I'm already married," Sujieron said with a smile. His smile was especially seductive, and it instantly lit up his peerless face. Xing Jinyan was shocked and shocked. He liked to see this expression on his face. It greatly satisfied his pride. He had thought that it would be difficult to get her love, so he had specially arranged a good show, but in the end, if it was too easy, it would be boring. He smiled and lifted Xing Jinyan up. He wasn't going to punish her just by scaring her. He wanted to use everything she had taught him to love and please, to hurt and be cruel. Xing Jinyan blushed and wrapped her arms around his neck. Her eyes were misty and she said gently, "Don't let me down." He smiled mysteriously. She trembled, sobbed, but then she lay comfortably in his arms. "Jiren, I love you." Sujieron felt a little bored. In comparison, he missed Baiya more. He had helped Baiya return to her position as the daughter of a wealthy family. She should thank him. After all, they were husband and wife, right? Special Military Area Command Gu Lingqing answered the phone. He frowned and his chin was tight, showing his displeasure. "If it's a normal kidnapping case, please go to the armed police. I'm here to deal with the enemy, not the normal criminals. Your Uncle Xing's daughter is also your sister. The armed police are ready, but the criminals are only allowed 2 people to enter the island. You can only deal with them if you send an elite special forces soldier. Are you going or not?" Gu Tianheng said angrily. Gu Lingqing hung up the phone. "Chief, should we send someone? The armed police are ready and waiting," Lieutenant Colonel Shang asked worriedly. Chapter 28. "Sir, I can't. This mission is too dangerous." Lieutenant Colonel Shang was so worried that he was sweating. Gu Lingqing packed his things and was very determined. "This is my family's private matter. Who else do you think is more suitable besides me? I can't. I believe that the other Special Forces soldiers will definitely complete this mission with honor." Lieutenant Colonel Shang, run 20 laps with a weight of 10 kilograms. "You talk too much nonsense," he said coldly. He packed his things and set off for the crime scene. On the beach, a group of armed special forces lined up neatly with rifles in their hands. Xing Bachuan sat in a car with black windows. Next to him sat a man who was wearing the same clothes as him, and looked very similar. Gu Lingqing was carried into the car by the police. Xing Bachuan hung up the phone with the kidnappers and said to Gu Lingqing, "They promised that 2 people will accompany me to the island. You must ensure the safety of my daughter." Gu Lingqing glanced at Xing Bachuan's face indifferently. He had even found a substitute. He was really afraid of death. Gu Lingqing didn't say anything. He took Xing Bachuan's phone and carried the fake governor onto the yacht. "Sir, I'll go with you." Lieutenant Colonel Shang rushed over. If something happened to the chief, he wouldn't be able to live long. It was better to come and protect the chief. "Stay here and wait for orders," Gu Lingqing ordered. He set sail for the deserted island. After getting on the island, he called Saudi Arabia and found that the phone was turned off. He shuttled through the forest suspiciously. The more he walked, the more surprised he became. The surroundings were too quiet, so quiet that it was peaceful. Finally, he saw a wooden house in front of him with a bit of starlight. He looked around cautiously and quickly leaned against the side of the wooden house. He opened a gap in the window and looked inside. Baiya was left in the middle of the house, hanging by a rope. Her mouth was stuffed with a piece of cloth. Her hands were already bruised. Her expression was cold. She looked at the air blankly. He didn't know if she was strong or scared silly. She was too calm. Gu Lingqing's heart tightened. He scanned the room and found that there was no one else inside. He quickly pushed the door and went in. Baya looked at him. Her big eyes were locked on his resolute face, and she was a little absent-minded. She kept looking and looking until her eyes turned red, and the corners of her mouth curled into a smile. Some people say that when God closes your window, he must open another. Gu Lingqing quickly ran over, untied the rope on her hand and saved her. Pull the cloth from her mouth. When he saw the red bruises on her face, he frowned and asked worriedly, "Are you okay?" Baya shook his head. He pitifully blew on her red and swollen hand and softly said, "It must be very painful, right?" Baya stared at him. She didn't cry when the mistress came looking for her. She didn't cry when Su Jiran pushed her to the gates of hell. Being cared for by him made her feel a very sour feeling in her heart. He had been hurt too much and was already numb to it. But sunlight was scarce, and she was even more precious. Tears flowed out. Sniffing her nose, she smiled again. "I'm fine." Yes, without Su Jiran in her heart, she would be fine. She saw her bag, walked over and picked it up. Gu Lingqing held her hand and promised, "Follow me closely, I will definitely ensure your safety." Baya glanced at his hand. His palms were warm. Because of long-term training, it was a little rough, but it was a strong feeling, which made her feel very at ease. She didn't refuse his touch again. Or maybe it was because she was too tired. Her heart was too bitter. She needed this firm warmth to drive away the coldness in her body. Xing Bachwan's face darkened when he saw Baya come ashore. He frowned, and his voice became sharp. "How could it be you? Did you tell the gangster that she was my daughter?" Baya looked at Xing Bachwan indifferently. She didn't say that she was his daughter. Even if she really died, she wouldn't say it. Ridiculous. What a waste of my time. Xing Bachwan got into the car angrily, slammed the door and left, leaving behind a group of confused people. Only Baya knew the reason. She stood quietly, looking at the back view of Xing Bachwan's car. He thought that the person who was kidnapped was Xing Jinyan, so he came. In his heart, Xing Jinyan was his daughter, but she wasn't. There was a slight pain in her heart that was being pulled. "I'll send you back." Gu Lingqing sensed that something was wrong with her. She turned her head and smiled at Gu Lingqing, hiding the gloominess in her eyes. "Okay." She got into his car, leaned against the window and closed her eyes. She was very tired. She hadn't rested since morning. Her body was tired, and her heart was tired. She fell asleep after a while. Her phone rang. Gu Lingqing was worried that it would wake her up, so he answered the phone. "Where is she?" "Come to my villa in an hour," Su Jiran ordered. Gu Lingqing hated his tone. His black eyes became deeper, and he said in a low voice, "She's asleep." "Who are you?" "Gu Lingqing." "Where are you?" There was an inexplicable panic in Su Jiran's heart. "If there's anything, we'll talk tomorrow morning. I'm hanging up." He hung up and turned off Baya's phone. He looked at Baya. Baya's neck was tilted, and her head was drooping. It was still 40 minutes away from the city center. She would definitely have a stiff neck if she slept like this. Gu Lingqing saw a hotel not far away. He drove the car close to the hotel's parking lot. The rules of the hotel were very strict. No one was allowed to check in without an ID card. He used his military ID card to get a room. Baya was still asleep. He carried her and walked to the elevator. Her body was soft, and her little face was as red as an apple. He put her gently on the bed. Her hair brushed past his arm, tickling him. His eyes narrowed and were mesmerized by the colors. Something hot surged in his abdomen. After all, he was a hot-blooded man. The taste of her had been deeply imprinted in his mind 3 years ago. He sighed, covered her with the quilt, and went into the bathroom. The cold water rushed down. It chilled his skin, but it couldn't cool the passion in his heart and the restlessness hidden in his body. This was the best time to test his will. Early morning. Baya was woken up by the sound of water in the bathroom. She sat up and brushed her hair. Her head was still dizzy, and she saw Gu Lingqing's clothes on the sofa. Her lips curled up. Staying in the same room with him was just to make her feel at ease. She stepped out of the bed. Gu Lingqing walked out of the bathroom. His hair was wet, and his face was tense. The strong lines on his face made his face more three-dimensional, as if he was suppressing something. His strong and muscular lines extended all the way down to his abdomen. A white bath towel was wrapped around his belly button, and it was very sexy. Baya blushed a little, and tried to look at his face. She said softly, "Morning." Gu Lingqing ignored her, walked to the sofa and picked up his clothes. She felt that he was not happy. "Well, thank you. I slept too much last night and I don't remember checking into the hotel." Baya thanked him. Chapter 29. Baya felt that he was a little weird, but she didn't know why. Was he angry early in the morning, or was he angry? "It's not the first time we've been in the same room. I trust you," Baya said in a distant and polite manner. He frowned slightly, and the anger in his eyes deepened. "Trust me for what?" He was overbearing, and that inexplicable pressure made it hard for her to breathe. "Are you sick?" Baya touched his forehead. He grasped her wrist even faster. His palm was very hot, like the butt of a cigarette. He also felt that he was sick. In the same room, he could still be a saint. In the whole world, only he, Gu Lingqing, could do that. Suddenly, the air pressure rose and collapsed his reason. He pressed the back of her head and kissed her. His lips were very hot. A fresh toothpaste smell rushed into her nose, lips and mouth, all the way to her heart and lungs. Baya was so shocked that her mind went blank. He stuck his tongue in. He swallowed her natural sweet taste. His lips and teeth melted with hers. Ferocious like a flood that had opened the floodgates. Baya only felt that her breath was being eroded by him bit by bit. His breath was also getting heavier. Baya's eyes were red with fear. She almost forgot that Gu Lingqing's feelings for her were not pure. She must be crazy to sleep in the same room with him. She pushes at his chest. He held her hand and didn't move. Instead, the temperature of his body was getting higher and higher. Even cold water couldn't cool down the heat. Her hand was trembling. She protested with a frown, her watery eyes locked onto him. The charming mist in his eyes became more and more blurred. The more she resisted, the more he wanted her. His big palm slid through her clothes and across her waist. Wherever the big palm passed, it made her tremble. She had never been touched like this before. She immediately felt humiliated. Her head was dizzy and her legs were weak. He held her waist, and there was no distance between them. His fingers undid the buckle on her back, and followed the strap to the front. The hot temperature of his palm touched her skin, as if it was going to set her on fire. A series of unfamiliar electric currents swept through her delicate body. The unfamiliar numbness brought with it a different feeling. "No." Baya resisted, his voice trembling. Her resistance was completely useless now. He kissed her neck, and straightened her dress to her waist. His hot lips landed on her shoulder. Hot air fell on her body. "Gu Lingqing, don't." She trembled in fear. She wanted to say something but stopped. Her eyes were misty and moist. "What is it?" he asked, looking at her with a burning gaze. She found it hard to speak. She blushed. "It's not right for us to do this. I'm married." His eyes narrowed in an instant and he frowned. There was no joking expression on his resolute face. "As long as it's a woman I like, I don't care who she is, whether she's married or not, and whether she has children or not. I want you." Her heart was beating so fast that she couldn't breathe, and her brain couldn't think. Is he confessing? In a daze, Gu Lingqing carried her to the bed. She felt a chill on her back and regained her senses. She pressed her hand against Gu Lingqing's burning chest. His deep gaze was like a whirlpool, causing her to be unable to extricate herself and fall into it. If she lost her senses now, what about tomorrow, the day after, or in the future? The passion between a man and a woman was temporary. It couldn't solve anything, and it couldn't bring about anything. "Gu Lingqing, don't," Baya begged. "I'll be responsible for you," he said hoarsely. He held her hand and moved it down his abs. She shivered. She was so scared that she wanted to retract her hand. He pressed her hand down and didn't let her leave. She shouted anxiously, "We're not close." His body froze and his deep eyes were covered with a layer of indistinct color. His anger was replaced by a blurry look. "You're saying that we're not close?" Vaguely, she felt a little heartache. She lowered her eyes and tears flowed from her eyes. He understood that she didn't want to be like this. The warmth in his eyes turned cold. He let go of her and stood up. I'm sorry I was rude. We're really not close. If you don't want to see me in the future, I'll disappear from your life completely, Gu Lingqing said coldly, very dispirited. He turned around and walked into the bathroom again. Baya didn't feel very comfortable as she watched his cold and arrogant back view disappear. She curled up and hugged her calves, covering her face with her knees. Actually, she didn't hate him. It was just that she was still a married woman. She didn't want to become someone like Su Jiran. Gu Lingqing came out of the bathroom and returned to his usual coldness. He walked straight to the sofa and tidied up his clothes indifferently. He didn't look at her again. Gu Lingqing, Baya shouted. He packed up his things coldly, even colder than before. She didn't know what to say and could only look at him. He tidied up his things and looked at her affectionately. I'll wait for you downstairs. With that said, he turned around and left her room. Baya got out of bed, washed up, and went to the hall on the first floor. Gu Lingqing had already stopped a taxi for her. Get in the car, he said coldly and opened the back door. Baya walked past him and got into the car. Gu Lingqing, Baya shouted and looked at him with slightly red eyes. I don't want to be a stranger to you. Gu Lingqing was slightly stunned. He pulled Baya down and walked quickly to the parking lot. He threw her in front of his car door and put his hand on the side of her head. He looked at her with burning eyes, sharp, serious. Tell me clearly, do you want to have an affair with me? No. She answered without even thinking. Do you want me to like you? Gu Lingqing asked, not giving her any time to respond. If he liked her and she didn't like him, he would be very tired. She had enough of the feeling of falling in love with someone who didn't love her. If she didn't love him, she didn't want him to like her. She shook her head. In her current situation, she didn't have the ability to love anyone. Gu Lingqing's eyes dimmed. Since we're nothing, it's better not to see each other in the future. He let go of her hand, opened the car door, and got into the driver's seat. Can't we be friends? Baya asked. Chapter 30. Baya smiled bitterly. I'm married. I have a husband. How can I be your woman? Gu Lingqing could tell that she was rejecting him, so he didn't want to force her. Let it be. We don't belong to the same world. There's no need to be friends. Get in the car, I'll send you back, Gu Lingqing said calmly. Baya lowered her eyes. Her long eyelashes formed a silhouette under her eyes, covering the dark emotions that flowed through her eyes. She and Gu Lingqing did not belong to the same world. Since they couldn't be friends, there was no need to force it. She had always been alone, and she had lived until now. There's no need. I can take a taxi back. Thank you for saving me. I wish you happiness. Baya nodded, turned around and walked towards the entrance of the hotel. Gu Lingqing gritted his teeth. His eyes were filled with irritation. His nails that were holding the steering wheel turned white. He steeled his heart and drove away. Baya took a taxi back to her apartment. When she opened the door, Su Jiran was in her apartment, sitting on the sofa. The cigarette in his hand flickered, and the smoke blurred his face. The ashtray was full of cigarette ashes. The room was filled with smoke. Baya looked straight at him. You just came back? Su Jiran's lips curled up. He was as devilish as usual, but there was no warmth in his eyes. She saw how cruel he was. His kindness was only shown to other women, but she couldn't feel it. Let's go. The Civil Affairs Bureau should be open now. Let's get the divorce certificate done. I still have to go to the hospital, Baya said calmly. He chuckled and stood up. Who said that I wanted to divorce you? Baya stared at him. Her gaze became colder and colder, and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. Su Jiran, do you think we can still go on after what happened yesterday? Don't deceive yourself. I'm not a child. You know very well why you married me. Now that she's back, I'll give you my blessings that you'll be united forever, fall sick together, and die together. Su Jiran furrowed his brows, his eyes filled with irritation. Have you had enough? The criminals caught you, but I've already dealt with them. What else do you want me to do? Saving the damsel in distress is indeed your style, but it doesn't mean that I want to continue playing with you. Xing Jinyan is already back, and he's the apple of Xing Bachuan's eye. You provoked me back then because you knew I was Xing Bachuan's daughter. I'll marry you. Don't worry. Even if she comes back, it won't affect your status as Mrs. Su, Su Jiaran said with certainty. Baiya didn't want to talk to him anymore. There was no point in talking more. She walked past him towards the room. Seeing her disdain, Su Jiaran's eyes narrowed and he grabbed her wrist. What's your attitude now? Don't you have eyes to see? Can't you see what attitude I have? Baiya wanted to shake his hand off. His grip was too tight, and she couldn't shake it off at all. His gaze became more and more sinister, and there was a hint of jealousy in his eyes. Why? Are you in love with Gu Lingqing? Baiya sneered. It doesn't seem to have much to do with you. He tightened his grip. Say that again. No matter how many times I say it, it's the same. I've never cared about your matters, and my matters have nothing to do with you, Baiya said coldly. She wasn't afraid of his anger that was about to explode. To her, he was already nothing from the moment he treated her like a chess piece yesterday. He pushed her shoulders hard and moved forward quickly and comfortably. Baiya was pushed against the wall by him. The pain in her back tugged at her bones. Her body was in pain, but her heart was calmer. She had to get a divorce, and she was determined to get it. Su Jiaran scrutinized Baiya. His eyes were bloodshot as he questioned. Did he really F***ck you? Baiya, compared to the women outside, I thought you were at least clean. I didn't expect you to be as dirty as them. Dirty. Baiya raised the corner of her mouth sarcastically and looked straight into his beautiful and unfathomable eyes. His heart actually didn't hurt anymore. Yeah, I'm very dirty. Wipe your hands. Looking at her cold and distant face, he felt a stab of pain in his heart. He pinched her chin. Baiya, what are you thinking? Divorce. Please disappear from my life completely. Baiya said resolutely. The veins on his forehead popped. He lowered his head and kissed her fiercely. Baiya gritted her teeth hard. She didn't like the charming taste of tobacco in his mouth. It was too turbid. It made her want to go to Gu Lingqing. It was pure, sunny, and warm. Su Jiaran was furious. He pinched her little face hard and forced her to open her mouth. He kissed her fiercely until he reached her mouth. The light and elegant fragrance of her body made him almost fascinated. He was crazy for her. His reason disappeared. There was only one organ in his body that was clamoring for her. Baiya frowned. She couldn't struggle. Her physical strength couldn't compete with this man. She made up her mind, clenched her fists, endured the nausea in her stomach, and kissed him back. Su Jiaran felt that her kiss back was not smooth. Compared to so many skillful women, she was simply clumsy. However, he felt very comfortable. It was as if a drop of hot water was dripping on his cold and indestructible heart. It was warm. This kind of awareness surprised him. He let go of her, looked at her red lips suspiciously, and asked, "Is this your trick? You deliberately made me angry." "Yes." Baiya raised the corner of her mouth coldly. In order to protect herself, why not lie? "It worked, didn't it?" Baiya asked. The fog spread to her eyes and covered the window of her heart. Su Jiaran smiled wickedly. "It did work. You didn't use it on him, right?" "Of course not." Baiya didn't dare to anger Su Jiaran. He was too dangerous now. Su Jiaran grinned, and even the depths of his eyes were smiling. "Baiya, you're getting more and more scheming." "Did I capture your heart?" Baiya asked arrogantly. "Don't play these tricks on me in the future. I don't like it." He smiled wickedly, and his tone was still as doting as before. But she knew that he used this kind of tone to flirt with every woman he met. "No, I'm going to work," Baiya said coldly. "You go to work." He yawned. "I didn't sleep last night. I'll sleep here for a while." "Do as you please." Baiya almost escaped from the room. She looked back at the door, and fear flowed in her eyes. She couldn't come to this place again. Su Jiaran was too scary. He refused to divorce, so she could only use legal means. Su Jiaran walked into Baiya's room, lay on her bed, and covered her with the quilt. There was no perfume or makeup on her quilt, but it had a very fresh and elegant fragrance. It smelled very good. Chapter 31. Baiya went back to her office. Lu Shuang passed by and saw Baiya in the office. She came back and asked with concern, "Xiaobai, how's the aftermath of yesterday?" "I'm preparing for a divorce," Baiya said calmly. "Really? You did the right thing. I support you to get a divorce." She smiled mischievously. "Is it because of the handsome guy you saw yesterday afternoon?" "No." Baiya shook her head. She felt a little lonely. "I'll never see him again." "Why?" "He doesn't like you because you're a married woman. You're going to get a divorce soon," Lu Shuang said, puzzled. "I'm too far away from him. I'm going to rent a house again. Then, I'll go to the lawyer's office today. If I want a divorce, I need to show you the evidence of Su Jiaran's extramarital affair," Baiya said thoughtfully. "Evidence of Su Jiaran's extramarital affair? That's easy. Give it to me, and I'll handle it for you," Lu Shuang said confidently. "Thank you." Baiya thanked him sincerely. The marriage that lasted for 3 years was finally coming to an end. She could finally get out of that hell. She only knew how beautiful it was when she let it go. There was a knock on the door. Baiya looked at the door. The head of the gynecology department looked terrible. She looked at Baiya and said, "The director asked you to go over. It's not a good thing. Be prepared." "Is Su Jiaran that B***starred really going to kill you?" Lu Shuang said. Baiya's heart skipped a beat. She had a bad feeling. "I'll go first." Lu Shuang saw Baiya go out and immediately called the director. "Dad, what's going on? Are the higher-ups still targeting Baiya?" "The leader of the health bureau suppressed this matter and asked us to deal with it. It should have been dealt with yesterday, but I delayed it for a day and asked her to think of a solution. She still hasn't thought of anything? I have to report this to the higher-ups," the dean said helplessly. "Wait a moment. I have an idea." "Dad, don't deal with it first. Stall for time," Lu Shuang said with a sudden inspiration. "My dear daughter, what do you want now? Dad has already helped you clean up a lot of messes. Please spare my old life," the headmaster said anxiously. "I know. Just wait for half an hour." Lu Shuang hung up the phone. She took out her phone from Baiya's bag and found a call from the bureau chief. She took Baiya's phone and called him. The phone rang twice before it was hung up. Since it was an emergency, Lu Shuang couldn't care less about whether the others were busy or not. He made another call. Gu Lingqing was still dead. She quickly typed a message. "I'm waiting for you to save me. Hurry up and pick up the phone." After sending the text message, Lu Shuang called again. "What's the matter?" Gu Lingqing picked up the call. "Just pick up the call, Mr. Bureau Chief. Baiya is in trouble. She's waiting for you to save her," Lu Shuang said. Gu Lingqing heard that it was another woman's voice. She paused for a moment. What happened to her? Xiaobai went out on a mission and delivered a pregnant woman. The ultrasound showed that the umbilical cord was around her neck. She was about to give birth. Xiaobai could only make a small incision on her lower body. She didn't expect that the woman was Xiaobai's husband's lover. Xiaobai wanted to divorce her husband. Her husband instigated the woman to sue Xiaobai, causing Xiaobai to lose her job, Lu Shuang said simply. "I know about this. I'll deal with it," Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. Lu Shuang heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that. He smiled. "You're indeed a great boyfriend. No wonder Xiaobai likes you." "Baiya likes me?" Gu Lingqing frowned. He didn't believe it at all. "Yes, she told me personally that she likes you. It's just that she's a married woman now, so it's not convenient for her. But don't worry, Baiya is trying her best to get a divorce," Lu Shuang said deliberately. She felt that Baiya was a good match for the military officer. Gu Lingqing was silent for a moment. He hung up the phone. His eyes were gentler than before. He called the director of the first hospital. "Hello, I'm Gu Lingqing, the supreme leader of the special forces. Dr. Baiya is following my instructions during the mission. If anyone is looking for trouble, please ask her to look for me. It has nothing to do with Baiya," Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. The director was stunned. The person who called him was the general of the special forces, Gu Lingqing. His daughter's ability was too great. Okay, I got it. I'll deal with it, the director said in a trembling voice. Gu Lingqing hung up the phone. The director said to Baiya, "You're fine now. General Gu from the Special Forces just called and said that you were following his instructions. It has nothing to do with you. Go back to work." Baiya lowered her eyes. She didn't expect that Gu Lingqing was still willing to help her. Her heart was touched again and again. She went back to the office. The office was covered with roses, and there were 2 paper bags next to the chair. Su Jiran sat in front of her desk lazily and asked in a devilish tone, "Do you like it?" She didn't like it. There was a hint of indifference in Baiya's eyes. "I haven't gotten off work yet. Your presence here will affect my work." "I've asked. You don't have an operation scheduled in the afternoon. It won't affect me here." He stood up and brushed the hair hanging down from her face. Baiya stepped back subconsciously. Su Jiran didn't like her repulsion. A sharp glint flashed across his eyes. "What do you want now? You're the one who asked the director to fire me, aren't you?" Baiya asked directly. Su Jiran paused. "I almost forgot about this. Wait a minute." He made a call in front of Baiya and ordered, "Withdraw the charges against Baiya." After that, he hung up the phone and smirked. He looked at Baiya. "Baby, it's settled. You just have to listen to me. I won't let you suffer." The way he called her baby gave her goosebumps. "I'm going to work," Baiya said indifferently and sat in front of her desk. Su Jiran placed the gift bag on Baiya's desk. "These are clothes and shoes. My friend is treating me to dinner today. You should go too." Baiya's face turned pale when she recalled the incident with his wife. "I'm not going. I don't want to know your friend. I was confused last time. I won't do it this time. I'll pick you up tonight," Su Jiran said domineeringly with a smile. He turned around and left from Baiya's room. Lu Shuang saw Su Jiran walking out of Baiya's room. He ran over and asked worriedly, "Is that bastard pestering you again?" "Very soon. Purgatory will end soon," Baiya said with certainty. "Hurry up and end it. There's something better waiting for you." Lu Shuang smiled ambiguously. Gu Lingqing's face flashed across Baiya's mind. Chapter 32. I want a divorce. His family won't agree, Baiya said with self-awareness. Lu Shuang poked Baiya's head. "Why are you so inflexible? You and Su Jiran don't have a child. What era are we living in now? Divorced people are more popular than unmarried ones. Let's not talk about this. I need to finish my work," Baiya said. Lu Shuang saw the gift bag on Baiya's desk. She took it out. There was a pink gauze dress inside. It was made by Chanel. It was obviously expensive. "Su Jiran gave it to you?" Lu Shuang asked with disdain. "Yeah." Baiya didn't even look at the dress. Su Jiran is very generous to women, but he is not generous to one woman. "You won't be soft-hearted, will you?" Lu Shuang asked worriedly. Baiya looked up. Her eyes were as calm as water. "I have given up on him. It doesn't matter if he is hard or soft." Lu Shuang gave Baiya a thumbs up and agreed. "That's right. I will keep an eye on him these days. It will be easy to get the evidence of his affair. I will give it to you." "Thank you. I don't have anything to do this afternoon. I will go to the lawyer's office to ask about the situation." "Hurry up." Baiya asked the lawyer for details. The lawyer said that if there was evidence of the man's affair, they would force a divorce. It was not difficult to get the evidence of Su Jiran's affair. She came out of the lawyer's office. Her phone rang. "Where are you? Did you ask for leave in the afternoon?" Su Jiran asked suspiciously. She didn't want to tell Su Jiran that she was preparing for the divorce. She didn't want him to be on guard. She said perfunctorily, "Yeah, I went out to relax. I am going back to the hospital now. See you at the entrance of the hospital in half an hour," Su Jiran said unhappily and hung up the phone. Baiya took a deep breath. She had to endure it. She had endured it for so many years. A few more days was not a big deal. She returned to her office and changed into the clothes that Su Jiran had given her. His phone rang again. It was still from Su Jiran. "Baiya, There's a limit to being arrogant. I've been waiting for you for 10 minutes. Su Jiran said angrily. Baya sneered. She had waited for him for 3 years. 10 minutes was nothing. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Baya ignored his anger and hung up the phone. Su Jiran got out of the car and looked at the exit with a frown. He had left work early to wait for her. She had gone too far. Baya walked out of the exit. Su Jiran's eyes flashed with a hint of amazement, reflecting the beauty of his facial features. Baya usually dressed very maturely. In fact, she was only 24 years old. The pink silk dress suited her very well, and the elegant material outlined her perfect figure. In particular, the three-dimensional cut up to the knee set off her straight and slender calves. She looked very good after dressing herself up. Beautiful things were pleasing to the eye. Su Jiran calmed down and opened the car door. Baya got in the car and put on her seatbelt. She asked calmly, "Where are you taking me?" "The Peony Hall," Su Jiran said with a smile. The Peony Hall of the new century was the most luxurious private room in City A. This private room was not something an ordinary person could reserve. Baya followed Su Jiran into the private room. Xing Jinyan held Su Jiran's arm naturally and introduced him to Xing Bachuan with a smile. "Dad, he saved me yesterday." Xing Bachuan smiled with satisfaction and reached out his hand. "Minister Su is a young talent from the Health Bureau. We've met before. Nice to meet you. Thank you for saving my daughter." Baya stood at the door and watched them being intimate. Her lips curled up slightly. She seemed to have been the extra one all along. After shaking hands with Xing Bachuan, Su Jiran glanced at Baya. "Come in." Xing Bachuan's face paled when he saw Baya and his smile froze. "Who is she, Jiran?" Xing Jinyan asked defensively. "I told you before. She's my wife, Baya," Su Jiran said with a smile. He took in their ugly expressions. Xing Bachuan glanced at Xing Jinyan in displeasure. He thought that Xing Jinyan had hooked up with a young talent from the Health Bureau as soon as he came back. He had a wife, and his wife was actually his daughter from his previous life. He felt uncomfortable all over. But he didn't lose his temper for the sake of Su Jiran. He said solemnly, "Please take a seat, everyone. I have 2 more friends coming." Su Jiran sat down with Baya. The atmosphere was strangely depressing. "Bachuan, I'm sorry I'm late." Gu Tianheng walked in and said apologetically. Xing Bachuan saw Gu Tianheng and immediately stood up to welcome him. He shook his hand tightly, and his cold face warmed up again. "You're already giving me face by coming." Xing Bachuan looked behind Gu Tianheng and couldn't even keep his smile. "Like father, like son. I've finally witnessed General Gu's bravery. Please take a seat," Xing Bachuan said hypocritically. Baya looked at Gu Lingqing in surprise. She didn't expect to meet Gu Lingqing here. His expression was tense and cold. There wasn't a hint of a smile on his face. He glanced at her indifferently and looked away as if they didn't know each other. "General Gu, it's been a while." Su Jiran smiled and put his arm around Baya's shoulder, pulling her into his arms. "I don't seem to be familiar with you." Gu Lingqing sat down in front of Baya arrogantly. His distant aura made him look arrogant and unruly. "Not familiar." These 2 words made Baya's heart tremble. She seemed to have said these 2 words to Gu Lingqing. However, he still helped her solve the dispute in the hospital. Baya lowered her eyes. Xing Bachuan looked at Gu Lingqing and then at Xing Jinyan. His eyes were sharp. "General Gu is young and promising. Do you have a girlfriend?" "I have a fiancé." He looked up at Xing Bachuan coldly. He glanced at Baya. Her face was calm, as if she had nothing to do with him having a fiancé. Was she really not familiar with him? His face became even colder. He poured himself a glass of red wine and drank it in one gulp. "Ah." Xing Bachuan was disappointed. "When did this happen, old Gu? Why haven't I heard you mention it?" "It's about the child. It's been on and off, and it's been noisy. I can't really tell. However, I want to announce this at the banquet tomorrow night." Gu Tianheng said happily. "So you have a fiancé?" Su Jiran picked up his glass and gestured to Gu Lingqing. He said meaningfully, "I'm sure General Gu and your fiancé must have a good relationship." I'm impressed that you're able to keep your composure. Here's to you. Gu Lingqing didn't raise his glass. Su Jiran felt a little bored. Oh right. Thank you for saving my wife last night. She hid in my arms and cried her eyes out as if she had been wronged. I'm sure she's still traumatized by what happened last night. Chapter 33. What happened this morning? Su Jiran looked at Baya with a dangerous glint in his eyes. She didn't like his fake intimacy and nonsense. When did she hide in his arms and cry? Baya curled her lips and said sarcastically, I'm crying. Can I not tell you what I'm afraid of? Su Jiran didn't like her answer. He curled his lips, but his eyes became cold. He moved his mouth to her ear and whispered in a low voice that everyone could hear. Yes, how can you be afraid of what happened in the morning? You love rolling in the sheets with me. Gu Lingqing looked at Baya with cold eyes. Baya had the urge to slap Su Jiran. What he said made her feel sick. He touched her thigh and pinched it hard as if he was punishing her. Bang! Xing Jinyan knocked over the cup. Baya looked at Xing Jinyan. Xing Jinyan's watery eyes sparkled as she looked at Su Jiran. She felt so wrong that her hands trembled. Baya was very disgusted with Su Jiran's methods. He brought her here on purpose to make Xing Jinyan jealous. Now that his plan had succeeded, it was time for her to retire. Excuse me. I need to go to the washroom. Baya picked up her bag and walked out. Wait. Xing Jinyan stopped in front of Baya and smiled gently. My dress is wet. Can you help me? Baya stared at Xing Jinyan. She wasn't a heartless person. She knew that it was a demonstration, but she still took it. Wasn't that stupid? Miss Xing, you have your own hands, don't you? Sorry, I'm not free. She walked out of the room coldly. Xing Jinyan was embarrassed for a moment. Seeing Baya leave, she immediately chased after her. Su Jiran revealed a meaningful smile. Even the depths of his eyes were smiling. It seemed that the girls were jealous. If you step on the boat too much, your shoes will get wet sooner or later. Gu Lingqing picked up the wine glass and took a sip. It doesn't matter. I can swim. Even if I fall into the river, I don't need to worry. Su Jiran joked. Gu Lingqing looked at him coldly. His cell phone rang. Gu Lingqing glanced at the caller ID and stood up. Excuse me. He took his phone and went out. Chief, the leader of the terrorist organization we're following, Miller, has just arrived in a city. According to our informant, there might be a batch of firearms being sold recently. I guess it might be related to him. Should we arrest him now or later? Lieutenant Colonel Shang reported. Since he still dares to come, he must have a reason to risk his life. Keep a close eye on him and wait for any changes, Gu Lingqing ordered rationally. When he passed by the door of the washroom, he heard Baya's voice coming from inside. He instinctively stopped in his tracks. There's nothing to talk about between me and Miss Xing, right? Baya said coldly. I know that you're my sister. Xing Jinyan curled her lips and said provocatively. Jiran told me that he only married you because he wanted to see me. 3 years ago, there was a misunderstanding between us and I was forced to leave. Now that I'm back, can you let go of me? She had wanted to let go of him for a long time. What do you want me to do? Baya asked coldly. Divorce and let us be together, Xing Jinyan said straightforwardly. Baya sneered. It seemed that all mistresses had the same request. She was really on the verge of collapsing. It would be better if she didn't do it. As long as he brings it up, I'll divorce him immediately and leave him with nothing. I'll leave the heavy responsibility of getting him to bring it up to you. Baya was telling the truth. Xing Jinyan's expression darkened and she said sarcastically. You know that he's using you to anger me. How can we divorce? Baya, let go. You're not in his heart. You're just a tool for him to take revenge on me. Baya stared at Xing Jinyan. All right. Xing Jinyan couldn't understand what she was saying at all. She shouldn't play the lute to a cow. Is there anything else, Miss Xing? No, I'm leaving, Baya said indifferently. Xing Jinyan looked at her in different expression, as though victory was in her grasp. There was a surge of anger in her heart that was rising rapidly. Baya, don't you have any shame? He doesn't love you. Don't you understand? Xing Jinyan tore off her ladylike facade and shouted. Baiya looked down. The mistress actually said that she had no shame. What a joke. She couldn't be bothered with her anymore and walked away proudly. Baiya, I'll definitely make Jieran divorce a disgusting woman like you, Xing Jinyan shouted. Baiya walked out of the washroom and paused when she saw Gu Lingqing. He held her hand and walked quickly into the private room and closed the door. Baiya was a little afraid of him now. Her eyes flickered. He didn't let her dodge. He placed his hand on the side of her head and locked his gaze on her. Are you stupid or a fool? Do you think that you can make Su Jiran change his mind by obeying him? He's just enjoying the feeling of having women on his left and right. She knew it. Su Jiran had brought her here on purpose to make Xing Jinyan jealous. But she had no choice. I know what I'm doing, Baiya said. She just had to endure for a few days and find the evidence. Then she could get a divorce and get rid of this hellish marriage. What are you doing? Compromising and loving. Men won't like you just because you're wagging your tail and begging. Gu Lingqing's chest was heaving up and down. She was very angry. I'm not wagging my tail and begging. I'm not begging for love. Then what are you doing now? Did you sleep with him in the morning? Gu Lingqing's tone became sharp. Right now he was not calm at all. His blood was surging and boiling. I didn't sleep with him. I never slept with him. He was the one who spouted nonsense, Baiya blurted out. She was annoyed after saying that. She was so eager to explain to him, as if she was hinting at something. I'm leaving. Baiya walked away sullenly. The haze in Gu Lingqing's eyes gradually dissipated. So they didn't have sex in the morning. So they never had sex in the morning. The other meaning of this sentence was that the only man she had was him. Gu Lingqing opened the door and walked out. He watched as Baiya walked into the elevator. He chased after her. Xing Jinyan looked at them maliciously. A light flashed in his eyes. She made a call. Brother son, it's Jinyan. Are you near the peony hall? Xing Jinyan asked sweetly. Yes. What's wrong? Do you miss me? Brother son said pervertedly. Help me do something. After it's done, I'll ask my father to approve the project you applied for. What is it? A man and a woman left the peony hall. I'll send you their photos. Lock them in the same room, and give them some medicine. You know what I mean? Xing Jinyan's eyes flashed with a dark light. Chapter 34. Baiya walked out of the restaurant. She felt depressed. Her mind was in a mess. It was because of Gu Lingqing. She knew it. She seemed to be a little attracted to him. There was a flurry of footsteps behind her. Baiya turned around instinctively. A man wearing a mask came over with a spray. He pointed it at her 5 times. Pai, 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 pai. She smelled a strong ether smell. Her vision darkened and she fainted. The man carried her and put her in the car. What are you doing? Gu Lingqing chased after them and asked. A hand was placed on his shoulder. Gu Lingqing's eyes flashed with sharpness. He threw him over his shoulder. The man was thrown to the ground, still holding the spray in his hand. Gu Lingqing dashed towards Baiya. Another man dashed out and stood in front of Gu Lingqing. He didn't stop and dashed over. Before the man could throw a punch, he was pushed away and hit the car. Gu Lingqing was too fast. He wasn't a match for him at all. Get in the car, the man shouted. The man who was hit got up and jumped into the car. Gu Lingqing watched as the car with Baiya drove away. He quickly chased after her. A gun came out of the car and was aimed at Gu Lingqing. Gu Lingqing jumped away. They stepped on the accelerator and ran away. Gu Lingqing immediately called the road management office. Help me check 2 cars. One is a black Santana with the car plate number **315, and the other is a black Volkswagen with the car plate number **510. Tell me their whereabouts in 10 minutes. He got into his car and sped along the road. Su Jiran waited for a while, but Baiya didn't come back. He called her but she didn't pick up either. He was unhappy and went out to look for her. Jiran, Xing Jinyan called out gently from behind him. Su Jiran turned to look at her, and smiled devilishly. What's wrong? Xing Jinyan walked up to him, her face flushed. I've booked a room at the Grand Hyatt Hotel. Of course he understood her hint. He liked the feeling of being chased by women. What did you say to Baya? Su Jiran asked. Xing Jinyan looked at his half-smiling eyes and couldn't tell what he was thinking. I love you, but my wife is someone else. I have 1,000 things to say to your wife, but she left angrily. I didn't have a chance to talk to her. Su Jiran laughed, lifted her chin, and kissed her on the lips. You're the only woman I'm worried about. Don't disappoint me. The things those little women do will only annoy me. You're so smart, you should understand, Su Jiran said meaningfully. Xing Jinyan's mind was buzzing. Did Su Jiran know something? Have you fallen in love with Baya? Xing Jinyan asked. What's there to love about her? You've just come back, have a good time with your family, Su Jiran said and walked towards the elevator. He didn't miss her at all. The director of the road bureau called Gu Lingqing. He asked the 2 cars to stop at the abandoned pier in Lijiang. Gu Lingqing quickly drove over. 1.5 hours later, he arrived at the pier. The surroundings were eerily quiet, and the 2 cars were parked there. Gu Lingqing flashed past. There was no one in the cars. In the row of warehouses, there was only one place with light. He quickly went over. Baya's body was curled up, and her arms were around her chest. She was facing him, shivering on the bed. Gu Lingqing realized that something was wrong, and he ran in worriedly. Baya, Gu Lingqing shouted. Baya's face was unusually red, and her eyelashes trembled. She opened her eyes. Gu Lingqing, drive away. Don't talk, I'll send you to the hospital. Gu Lingqing carried her and turned around. The shutter door of the warehouse was pulled shut by the masked man. Kid, this woman is a peerless beauty. You should enjoy it, the person outside said sinisterly. Gu Lingqing knew what happened to Baya. Her gaze became more and more unfocused, and the desire became stronger, as if there were countless ants crawling on her body. Gu Lingqing frowned, and his eyes were filled with tears. She would feel terrible. He understood this feeling. He was like this 3 years ago, and in the end he lost his mind. She happened to pass by, and that was why he took her. Hold on for a while, my people will be here soon. Gu Lingqing put her on the bed. He looked around and found pinhole cameras in the 4 corners. Baya watched as he tore off the wires of all 4 cameras. The pain was getting worse, and her mind was filled with some restricted images. She whimpered helplessly, and tears welled up in her eyes. She had never done anything bad, and she had never even talked bad about others behind their backs. Why did God treat her like this? Gu Lingqing made a call. Seeing that she was crying, his heart softened a little, and he wiped away her tears. Baya looked at him fixedly, and her eyes were filled with tears. It brightened her face, and she looked even more sexy and beautiful. She straightened her waist, and her soft and warm red lips touched his. Her hands wrapped around the back of his neck, and she pulled him to her side. His body froze, and his back stiffened. Her elegant scent rushed into his nose, and the soft clove was unbridled between his lips. It was so eager and hot, and he swallowed the taste that belonged to him. Gu Lingqing frowned, and only felt that his suppressed rationality was on the verge of collapse. The sweat that he had been holding back trickled down his forehead. Baya saw that he was not moving, and was very anxious. She kissed from the corner of his mouth to his chest. Gu Lingqing was startled, and he clamped her chin, pushed it away, and looked at her with a burning gaze. Do you know what you're doing? She was about to die from the heat, and she had completely lost her rationality. Leave you go away, she said, panting, but kissed his lips again. Her kissing skills were very bad, but it was so damn soft, and there was a sweet feeling in his heart. He closed his eyes and didn't want to think anymore. She was the one who was drugged. But he also seemed to be drugged. His breathing became heavier, and he looked at Baya deeply. I feel so bad, Baya said while crying. Gu Lingqing made up his mind. He knew that she was under the influence of the drug, but he didn't want to miss it. Baya, I will take responsibility. I, Gu Lingqing, swear that in this lifetime, I will only have you as my woman. Chapter 35. Baya couldn't see his face clearly. Her mind was swallowed up by the darkness. It will hurt a little. Bear with it, Gu Lingqing said worriedly. If it weren't for the drug, he would have done the first part carefully. Gu Lingqing was about to unbuckle his belt when the shutter door was opened. He looked at the door alertly. Lieutenant Colonel Shang came with the soldiers and a doctor. Chief, are you okay? Lieutenant Colonel Shang asked worriedly. Gu Lingqing was a little absent-minded. If they had come a little later, something would have happened between him and Bai Ye. He was a little annoyed. He stood up and ordered the doctor. Give her a tranquilizer first. Yes. The doctor gave Bai Ye a tranquilizer. Bai Ye, who was in pain, looked at the medicine being injected into the needle hole weakly. The restlessness in her body gradually disappeared. She fell into a deep sleep. Lieutenant Colonel Shang looked at Bai Ye's flushed face. The chief's clothes were untidy, and there were hickeys on his neck. He said worriedly, Chief, were you molested? Gu Lingqing's sharp gaze swept over him. You talk a lot of nonsense. He carried Bai Ye and walked towards their car. Lieutenant Colonel Shang touched his nose. Why did he feel like he had ruined someone's good time? Bai Ye woke up in a daze. The first thing that flashed in her memory was that she was kidnapped. She sat up in a panic. Her mind became clearer and clearer. Yesterday, she was drugged and it was Gu Lingqing who saved her. She even molested Gu Lingqing. It was so embarrassing. What are you thinking about? Why are you so focused? Gu Lingqing asked. Only then did Bai Ye realize that Gu Lingqing was sitting on the sofa. She looked into his deep eyes and thought of last night. She couldn't help blushing. Nothing, I'm going to brush my teeth and wash up. She got up and didn't dare to look at him. She almost ran into the bathroom. Gu Lingqing got up and leaned against the door frame, watching her brush her teeth and wash her face. Do you remember what happened yesterday? Gu Lingqing asked. Bai Ye looked down. She remembered that she had touched that part of his body, and the feeling was still there. She wanted to play dead. I don't remember, Bai Ye said guiltily. Gu Lingqing's eyes darkened. Did she not even dare to admit it? Gu Lingqing gritted his teeth and tightened his jaw. You were drugged last night. Bai Ye turned to look at him, her eyes gleaming. Did the general save me? Gu Lingqing sneered. I'll do it with you. Obviously not. Your subordinates came at that time. Bai Ye exposed his lie. The corners of Gu Lingqing's mouth curled up. So you remember. Was it a short-term memory loss just now? Bai Ye. She knew that she had fallen into his trap. She looked down and complained that he didn't give her face. Why are you like this? He looked at her condescendingly. His breath was all over her face. Why am I like this, don't you understand? His voice became softer, a little gloomy, a little repressed, and a little suggestive. Bai Ye's heart was beating very fast. He really had feelings for her. She wasn't imagining it. But she was a married woman, and this wasn't appropriate. Gu Lingqing's phone rang. He saw that it was Su Jiran's call. He frowned, picked it up and said coldly, What's the matter? Where's Bai Ye? Let her answer the phone. Su Jiran said angrily. Gu Lingqing glanced at Bai Ye and passed the phone to her. It's Su Jiran. Bai Ye didn't expect that Su Jiran would call Gu Lingqing to look for her. She took the phone suspiciously. What's the matter? You're sleeping with Gu Lingqing? Su Jiran asked sarcastically, hiding his anger. Don't use your dirty thoughts to think of others, Bai Ye said unhappily. You better not. Gu Lingqing is the chief of the special forces, and the youngest general in history. His father is the deputy chief, and one day, he will become the president of the country. If you're with him, you'll be leaving a stain on his life. You're my wife, my woman Su Jiran, Su Jiran said arrogantly. She hated the phrase, You're my woman, Su Jiran. Don't you think you have too many women? Bai Ye said coldly. But I only have you as my wife, Su Jiran said sternly. He gritted his teeth and his gaze was sharp. Then you should control your women even more. Kidnapping and drugging me. If it wasn't for your connivance, would they have dared to do it? Was there a need for them to do so? Su Jiran was surprised. You said that someone drugged you? Don't you know who it was? I was kidnapped right after I left the restaurant. How many people knew that I was in that restaurant? You can count your fingers. Who else has the motive and who has the ability to do so? I don't want to talk to you anymore. Don't call me anymore. Baya hung up the phone angrily. You still want such a scumbag? Gu Lingqing said coldly. Baya recalled what Su Jiran said. Gu Lingqing was a general and the head of the special forces. He might become the president of the country in the future. She was a married woman. He treated her so well. She shouldn't hinder his future. I'm going back. I still have to work today. Baya nodded indifferently. Gu Lingqing didn't like it when she was like this. It made his heart feel like it was being tugged at. He grabbed her chin and lifted it up. What do you want from me? Baya looked straight into his beautiful eyes. To me you are like the sun. As long as the sun shines, I can feel warmth. But if you get too close to me, I will turn into ashes before I even get close, Baya said seriously. Am I that scary in your eyes? Gu Lingqing was annoyed. His chest was heaving up and down. I'm not scary. I'm just stating the truth. The truth is that you're timid. Gu Lingqing let go of his hand and turned his face away. You can leave. Baya nodded respectfully. She picked up her bag and left without looking back. Gu Lingqing's fist hit the wall heavily. He frowned. This was the first time he lost control like this. Su Jiran was hung up. His gaze was sharp as he dialed Xing Jinyan's number and questioned him. Did you ask someone to kidnap Baya last night? Of course not. Who told you that? Was Baya kidnapped last night? Xing Jinyan pretended to be innocent. Don't let me find out it was you. Otherwise, I won't let you go, Su Jiran said fiercely. Didn't you say that you don't love her? Xing Jinyan felt wronged. Even if I don't love her, I won't allow anyone to bully her because of her identity as Mrs. Su. Okay, that's it. I have something to do here. Su Jiran hung up the phone in annoyance. Xing Jinyan gritted his teeth. Baya was just Mrs. Su. Soon she wouldn't be. Chapter 36. Xing Jinyan's phone rang. Seeing that it was Sen's call, she walked back to her room and picked it up. Son, she said in a sweet voice. Xing Jinyan, what's the background of that Gu Lingqing? Brother Sun asked. What's wrong? Xing Jinyan frowned. He was annoyed, but his voice was still as gentle as ever. Damn it. He's investigating the car and found Little Hay. Little Hay is my man. He's going to find me. Don't worry. It's fine. How about this? Do me one more thing. I'll arrange for Little Hay to hide abroad. Without Little Hay, they won't be able to find you, Xing Jinyan said coldly. What else? Brother Sun was annoyed. Xing Jinyan's eyes flashed fiercely. Kill Baya. Baya was dead. She could only be Mrs. Su. I didn't expect you to be so ruthless even though you're usually so gentle, Brother Sun sneered. Of course not. I just don't want them to find you, Xing Jinyan said gently. Okay, but Little Hay has to leave tonight. Don't worry. Little Hay will leave and your real estate development project will be approved, Xing Jinyan promised. Gu Lingqing was extremely depressed. She couldn't even eat breakfast. She went back to her room to change for the meeting. She saw a work ID on the floor. He picked it up. It was Baya's. In the photo, she had a simple and elegant face. She was smiling peacefully, but there was an unresolvable sorrow in her eyes. This woman was really forgetful. Lieutenant Colonel Shang, go to the hospital, Gu Lingqing ordered. Baya had breakfast near the hospital. It was still early. She leisurely walked over. She was thinking about what had happened last night. Even now those images made her heart beat faster. When she was near the entrance of the hospital, a black car rushed towards her. That kind of speed, and that kind of route, was aimed at her. Baya was startled and subconsciously ran toward the shop next to her. However, the owner of the car wanted to kill her. He drove at an astonishing speed. Baya couldn't outrun him. He was too anxious and fell to the ground. She could only watch as the car came crashing towards her. Beside her, a Bentley sped past her and crashed into the flower bed, blocking her way. There was another bang. The black car crashed into the Bentley. Chief, Lieutenant Colonel Shang exclaimed as he got down from a military vehicle behind. Seeing that the situation was not good, the black car quickly retreated. Baya watched as Gu Lingqing was carried out of the Bentley by several soldiers and sent to the hospital. Her head was buzzing, and she stood there for a long time, unable to recover from it. Could it be that Gu Lingqing was trying to save her? Doesn't he know how dangerous he is? Baya rushed to the hospital and asked the service counter. A minute ago, a group of soldiers sent an unconscious man here. Where did they send him? Department of Brain Intensive Care, 18th floor, the nurse at the reception desk said. Baya immediately rushed to the 18th floor of the neurology department. Gu Lingqing was going through all kinds of tests. She sat in the waiting area worriedly. The director and the important leaders had all come over. They looked solemn. She was really afraid that something might go wrong. Baya felt even more uneasy when she saw them like this. If anything happened to Gu Lingqing because he saved her, she would never forgive herself. Time ticked by. Finally, Baya saw Gu Lingqing being pushed out of the emergency room. His head was bandaged and his left arm was in a cast. He looked very serious. Her eyes reddened in an instant, and she ran up. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed to come near, the soldier said sternly. Baya's heart skipped a beat. Lieutenant Colonel Shang glanced at Baya. Follow him. Thank you, Baya said respectfully. She followed the cart into the VIP room. Lieutenant Colonel Shang left with the soldiers. In the room, there was only Gu Lingqing and her. Baya's eyes were red and misty. She sat on the chair beside the bed and choked with sobs. How did you get hurt so badly? Gu Lingqing slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was deep, like the vast universe, reflecting the two of her. Do you feel sorry for me? Gu Lingqing asked in a deep voice. He, because of her, got hurt more and more seriously. And she, apart from feeling guilty, couldn't do anything else. Suddenly, she felt resentful towards Su Jiran. If he hadn't been a troublemaker, she wouldn't have been hated by his women, and Gu Lingqing wouldn't have gotten hurt. I must be your jinx. It seems that every time you see me, nothing good will happen, Baya said apologetically, tears flowing down. He brushed her tears with his index finger and slightly raised the corner of his mouth. But I must be your lucky star. When you see me, you will definitely be safe. Baya was touched by his words and smiled through her tears. Have you had breakfast? No, are you going to feed me? Gu Lingqing looked at her with burning eyes. Baya blushed a little and skipped the topic. I'll go buy some breakfast. Gu Lingqing looked at her back as she left, and his eyes became deep. It seemed that it was a blessing in disguise for him. Baya went to the cafeteria to get breakfast, and found that she had lost her work card. Fortunately, there was a nurse she knew who was also getting breakfast, so she borrowed her card. She went back to Gu Lingqing's room. He was resting with his eyes closed, looking elegant, just like a noble prince. She walked in quietly. Gu Lingqing opened his eyes and looked at her. I didn't fall asleep. I'm hungry. Oh. She put the breakfast on the bedside table, and saw that he was still reading the Russian book. Did Lieutenant Colonel Shang send it here so quickly? I put it in the car and asked him to bring it here first. He's going back to get my clothes now. Gu Lingqing explained patiently. Baya blushed, squatted down in front of the bed, shook the bed and put down the board. In order to make him more comfortable, she pulled out his pillow. Because she was too close, her chest accidentally bumped into his hard chest. Gu Lingqing looked at her with burning eyes. If he had forced himself on her yesterday, would their relationship be different? He clearly remembered the feeling of kissing her, as if he was trapped in tenderness and didn't want to get out. Baya, fall in love with me. Gu Lingqing said hoarsely. Her heart skipped a beat, and she looked into his black eyes. There seemed to be a fire burning and jumping in the depths. She felt cramped and couldn't think. She wanted to wake up first. Gu Lingqing didn't let her retreat. He pressed his hand on her neck. The heat of his palm touched her skin, forcing her to look up. Chapter 37. Her lips were very easy to kiss. They were soft, and warm, with the unique fragrance of her body. He couldn't help but want to go deeper. He licked her lips, and the strong taste of the sun made her a little dizzy. Baya felt that she couldn't breathe, and the oxygen seemed to be sucked away little by little. Unconsciously, she opened her mouth. Baya felt flustered and couldn't think. She wanted to push him away, but she felt that her limbs were weak. Baya held his arm. No. Xiaoya, I will take responsibility. Gu Lingqing said in a low voice, looking into her eyes sincerely. Baya crawled out from under him and didn't dare to look at him. She lowered her head and said, I will come to see you at noon. Baya almost ran away. She felt that she was about to say yes to him. But she didn't divorce, so it was wrong. She returned to the office in a daze. Lu Shuang was already waiting for her in her office. Why are you so late? My friend had a car accident, so I went to see him. Baya sat down in front of the desk. Lu Shuang smiled, sat down at Baya's desk, and said proudly, Girl, I have good news for you. Baya looked at Lu Shuang's expression, and an idea flashed in her mind. You found the evidence of Su Jiran having an affair? Sort of, but I still have to wait for a few days, he. Lu Shuang said ambiguously. Why do you have to wait for a few days? Baya was puzzled. Lu Shuang smiled carelessly. That girl was said to be Su Jiran's former assistant. She had the phone recording of Su Jiran having an affair, and she asked for 200,000 yuan. If she told Baya, Baya would definitely not agree to buy it at such a price. Anyway, her old man had 200,000 yuan. But she had to compromise on some things. For example, a blind date. You have to help me with one thing, Lu Shuang said with a smile. What is it? I have a blind date on Saturday. Come with me. If you come with me, your business will be settled. Okay, if you want me to accompany you, I will accompany you even if there are no conditions. She only had one friend, Lu Shuang, and she treasured him very much. Then I'll go back to my office. Lu Shuang stood up. Baya suddenly thought of something. When you're free, help me find a house. I want to move out. You should have moved a long time ago. Lu Shuang patted his chest. I'll look for a house. Thank you. Baya watched Lu Shuang leave gratefully. Her life was not empty, at least there was friendship. At noon she hesitated whether she should visit Gu Lingqing. She could feel that Gu Lingqing had some thoughts about her. If she went, would it mean that she acquiesced to his thoughts? But if he didn't go, it would seem unreasonable. After all, he was injured saving her. He was her savior. Baya was in a dilemma. Her phone rang. When she saw it was Gu Lingqing, her heart raced. She took a deep breath and answered the call. When are you coming? Gu Lingqing asked in a deep voice. Well, I have something to do at noon, Baya said guiltily. Your work permit is with me. If you don't come to my place, I'll go to your place, Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. Then I'll come over after I get my lunch, Baya said softly. Okay. Gu Lingqing hung up the phone and looked at Lieutenant Colonel Shang. You don't have to stay here. How can we do that? If something happens to you, we can't afford it, Lieutenant Colonel Shang said worriedly. You're too conspicuous here. Besides, I'm fine. If I ask you to leave, then leave. Don't talk so much nonsense, Gu Lingqing said impatiently. Lieutenant Colonel Shang couldn't do anything about the chief, so he could only listen to him. Baya stood at the door of Gu Lingqing's ward. She took a deep breath and knocked on the door. The door was opened. She was surprised that it was Gu Lingqing who came to open her door in person. Was he feeling better? Before she said anything, he pulled her in, closed the door, and kissed her lips passionately. Baya's mind went blank. She opened her eyes wide and couldn't react for a moment. His kiss became deeper and deeper. His red tongue entered her mouth and messed up her breath. She knew it was wrong. She came back to herself and pushed him away desperately. Gu Lingqing let go of her lips. His chest was pressed against hers, and his strong breath surrounded her. Stay with me. I'm not asking for your opinion. This is an order, he said in a deep voice. His deep eyes were bottomless. We can't do this, Baya said rationally. Why not? Su Jiran doesn't like you. Your marriage with him exists in name only. If you continue to be with him, it will only be hell, Gu Lingqing said with certainty. But I'm still married to him now. I can't get out of it with any reason. Baya's eyes turned red. I'm only asking you, do you like me? Gu Lingqing asked directly. Baya's mind was in a mess. One word from her could very well be their doom. Can't we be friends? Baya was annoyed. In my opinion, there can't be pure friendship between a man and a woman. If you like me, no matter what I face, I will go on without hesitation. If you don't like me. Gu Lingqing paused and looked at her with burning eyes. Baya clenched her fists. If I don't like you, what will you do? He didn't answer. There was a glint in his eyes and he asked, will you like me? Who wouldn't like a handsome man like you? Your looks, background, and status are enough to make a woman obsessed with you. But if this kind of liking is just a momentary impulse, I don't think it will last long, Baya said rationally. Gu Lingqing squinted his eyes and shot out a sharp gaze. Couldn't she compromise? Couldn't she give in? What was wrong with being with Gu Lingqing? The woman he liked would definitely be spoiled to death. How do you know it won't last long if you haven't tried? Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. It's a mistake from the beginning. How can it last long? Baya said pessimistically. He hated that she was like a tortoise, hiding in her shell. He lifted her chin and took her lips in a punishing kiss. It was very ferocious. He sucked on her lips like a storm. When she breathed, all she breathed in was his strong manly scent. It almost filled her lungs and her limbs were weak. She couldn't even push him away. He kissed her until he was panting and finally let go of her. He looked at her swollen lips and curled up the corners of his lips. Didn't you ask what I would do if you don't like me? Baya looked at his crazily rolling eyes and had a bad feeling. Chapter 38. Baya was frightened by him. The word rape was the nightmare of her life. She thought of that night, that man, that was the nightmare of her life and the lingering fear. Her happiness, her love was over. Baya was trembling with fear. Then I will hate you. Gu Lingqing saw the real fear in her eyes. His heart felt as if it was being twisted by a hand, and the pain came unexpectedly. She was actually so afraid of him. It seemed that it was meaningless for him to force it. He turned around dispiritedly, opened the drawer, picked up her work permit, put it on the bedside table, and said in a low voice, Go, don't come here again. I am a wolf. Next time, I can't guarantee that I will let you go like I did yesterday. Baya's heart was very sour. Why was her relationship with Gu Lingqing getting worse and worse? Her mind was blank. She put the food on the bedside table, took out her work permit, and hung it around her neck. Take your food away, I don't want to eat it, Gu Lingqing said coldly. I got this food from the canteen, I didn't cook it myself. If you go to the canteen to get food, you will also get this, Baya explained with red eyes. You brought it. I don't want to eat it. Take it away. Or do you want me to throw it away myself? Gu Lingqing said coldly. Baya had no choice. She went forward, took the lunchbox, and said indifferently, Pay attention to your rest. She turned around and walked towards the door. Gu Lingqing sneered. Her eyes were as red as blood. She really didn't feel nostalgic at all, and left so quickly. She clenched her fists tightly. Baya opened the door, saw Su Shaoling walk to the door, and subconsciously, she closed the door guiltily. Well, Su Shaoling is coming, I will hide first, Baya said and went into the bathroom. She was annoyed when she went in. Why did she want to hide? She didn't do anything wrong. Su Shaoling came in with lilies and a fruit basket in her hands. Today, she was still dressed up beautifully. Her makeup was exquisite, her earrings were bright, and she wore a pink miniskirt. Her chest was pulled very low, and from time to time, half of her snow-white skin was exposed, but it was still very sexy. She put the flowers in the vase, put the fruit basket on the table, and smiled. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I would have thought you were avoiding the banquet tonight. Gu Lingqing didn't say anything. He looked at the bathroom and frowned slightly. Su Shaoling was used to his alienation. Since he did that to every woman, she didn't mind. She sat down on the chair beside him. Grandma said that since we can't announce the date of the wedding banquet, we'll go to her place for dinner another day and decide on the wedding date. Gu Lingqing's face was cold, and his pitch-black eyes were vast and boundless. If you don't answer, I'll take it as you agree, Su Shaoling said to herself. Baya leaned against the wall, feeling a little uncomfortable. He was about to get married, and they were like passers-by in a hurry. No matter how unwilling they were, this chapter would be over. So she made the right decision. It was the wisest thing for her to miss Gu Lingqing. She opened the door and looked at them. She met Gu Lingqing's eyes. Her heart trembled, and she closed the door again. Gu Lingqing was unhappy. Was he a poisonous snake or a beast? She was afraid to avoid him. He gritted his teeth and looked at Su Xiaoling. The suppressed anger was spreading. Okay, let's get married. Su Xiaoling was happy and threw herself at Gu Lingqing passionately. The strong perfume filled the whole room, and the fragrance was pleasant. She wanted to kiss Gu Lingqing's lips. Gu Lingqing hesitated for a moment, avoided it, and stood up. Su Xiaoling hugged Gu Lingqing, afraid that he would regret it. Lingqing, do you want me? Gu Lingqing looked at the door of the washroom. There was no movement at all. That woman treated him as if he didn't exist. He was nothing in that woman's heart. He felt depressed and uncomfortable. When he was in a trance, Su Xiaoling had already taken off her clothes. Anyway, we are going to get married. If you want me today, I will definitely serve you well, Su Xiaoling said anxiously. He couldn't hide his disgust. He was so angry at Baiya that he lost his mind. Now that he thought about it, he really didn't like this woman at all. Su Xiaoling, I was just joking. Su Xiaoling was stunned, and the smile on her face was a little awkward. Gu Lingqing frowned. He was very annoyed and wanted to refuse. He saw Baiya come out of the washroom and tiptoed towards the door. She really knew how to behave. Lingqing, I will definitely serve you well. I will be a good mother and a good wife. Su Xiaoling bit her lips and said. Baiya listened, but the discomfort in her heart spread all over her body. She wanted to leave as soon as possible. The air here made her feel suffocated. She opened the door with a click. Su Xiaoling heard the sound, and was about to turn around. Gu Lingqing pinched her chin and stared at her mouth with his deep eyes. His black lotus-like eyes were dark and surging. Su Xiaoling felt that she was deeply trapped in it and couldn't get out. It was the first time she looked at him so closely. She could see every pore on his face. He was a perfect man who was impeccable in all aspects. Baiya opened the door. Lieutenant Colonel Shang and an old woman were at the door. She was upset and couldn't get out, so she went back to the washroom. Gu Lingqing frowned and looked at Baiya's back helplessly. Lingqing. Su Xiaoling called in a sweet voice. I like a woman with a smaller mouth. Yours doesn't seem suitable. He said coldly and walked towards the washroom. Grandma came in accompanied by Lieutenant Colonel Shang, and saw Su Xiaoling taking off her clothes. Oh, I'm sorry. You can continue. Grandma pulled Lieutenant Colonel Shang out. Su Xiaoling also looked embarrassed and put on the clothes she took off. Gu Lingqing went into the washroom, closed the door and locked it. Why don't you go out? He asked in a low voice. Someone is at the door. I can't go out. Baiya explained. Baiya, why are you feeling guilty? Gu Lingqing questioned and examined her. It was like an X-ray, so she had nowhere to hide. I'm not feeling guilty. Baiya lowered her head. His question made her breathless. Really? A fierce look flashed in Gu Lingqing's eyes. He grabbed her waist, pulled her into his arms and kissed her lips. Baiya leaned back against the wall. Chapter 39. Baiya realized what he wanted to do and her legs trembled. He was so strong that she couldn't stop him at all. She pushed his shoulders. Baiya snorted. She had never been touched like this before. It was as if there were fireworks going off in her head. It was a very strange feeling, but it also seemed to be bewitching. His breathing became heavy, and there was a layer of love in his eyes. He looked at her misty eyes and said, You have what you want, right? You shouldn't do this? Baiya was embarrassed and annoyed. What should I do? I don't want to let you go, he asked. Baiya was so tense that she didn't dare to move. He could feel the strength of her muscles, and waves of excitement surged in his heart. Baiya let out a moan but didn't dare to be too loud. Su Xiaoling was still outside the door. She wanted to struggle but she was no match for him. She could only hit him and push him to prevent him from going further. Gu Lingqing's expression was locked and he said gently, You want it too, right? Let me go, Baya requested. She had never been touched by a man other than that time when she was raped. She blushed and bit her lower lip. Relax, I won't hurt you, I promise, Gu Lingqing said sincerely. How was he not hurting her? Baya looked at him with red eyes. He didn't want to scare her, so he kissed Baya's lips. I just want you to like me and be with me. If you don't try, how will you know if we can be together forever? I'll just wait for you to get divorced. His voice was very gentle, and his breath was on her face. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Lingqing, what are you doing? Baya was so scared that she didn't dare to move. Her back was stiff. But he didn't seem to hear it at all, and looked straight at her face. He had always been pure and had sex with her because of the drug. After that, he didn't have any urges because he had a taste of a woman. Until he met her. He knew what he had been waiting for. He didn't deny his feelings towards her. He just wanted her. He unzipped his pants. Baya was really scared, so she opened the door when he let go. Su Xiaoling was shocked to see Baya in the washroom. Baya had no time to care about her shock. She opened the door and ran away. Gu Lingqing was furious and slammed the door. What was so bad about him that she was so afraid of him? Baya ran out of the brain department. She was still in a state of shock. She was actually like Gu Lingqing, like that, almost like that, like that, like that. She was probably crazy. Baya pushed open the door to her office. Su Jiran was sitting on her chair. When he saw her coming in, he twisted out the burning cigarette butt. Did you do it with Gu Lingqing yesterday? Baya looked into his cold eyes and felt a chill. Thinking of her kidnapping and drugging last night, as well as the danger this morning and Gu Lingqing's injuries, she couldn't help but feel angry. It was all because of him. What right did he have to question her? Do you care? Baya asked with bloodshot eyes. You're my wife. I won't allow you to make me a cuckold. Su Jiran stood up. Suddenly, he felt a lot more dangerous. I've been made a cuckold by you countless times. Where do you get the cheek to control me? Baya shouted anxiously. He walked in front of her and said coldly, Woman, don't have such a bad temper. It will only make people annoyed. Men are romantic, but women are cheap. Xing Jingyan came to me today and wanted to be my secretary. I didn't want to agree, but now it seems that she's much cuter than you. Then I wish you two have a son soon and be united forever. Baya said indifferently. He was sick of it. He pressed down on her shoulders and slammed her against the wall. Woman, don't test my patience. If you think I'm annoying, then get a divorce, he roared. Do you want a man that much? Su Jiran was finally angry. His anger spread and burned until his eyes were bloodshot. Baya felt that his words were incoherent and illogical. Communicating with him would shorten her life by 10 years. It has nothing to do with you. Let go of me. Baya struggled to break free. Su Jiran's lips curled up. Looks like it's time for me to fulfill my duties as a husband. I'll definitely satisfy you. Baya's eyes widened in panic, but she was even more angry. Su Jiran, get out. Get out where? You'll be begging me to come in later. He hugged her shoulders and pressed her against the desk. Her documents and books were scattered all over the floor. She saw danger in his eyes and pushed him away anxiously. Compared to Gu Lingqing, she would rather be Gu Lingqing than the disgusting Su Jiran. Su Jiran's breathing became chaotic. Move, you know? The more you struggle, the more excited I get. You're shameless, Baya said through gritted teeth. He did not seem to hear her scolding and curled his lips. His hand moved up her thigh. Yo, this is love between man and beast. Lu Shuang vaguely heard the sound of Baya's office and appeared in time. When Baya saw Lu Shuang, she was surprised and even had the urge to cry. It was tears of joy, grievance, and all sorts of complicated emotions. Su Jiran stared at the emotions in Baya's eyes. His gaze tightened, and he was very annoyed. She really did not want him to touch her. For a moment, he was in a trance. The woman in front of him was still the Baya who loved him deeply. Because of love, even if he betrayed her, schemed against her, and hurt her, she still married him without hesitation. It seemed that something was changing quietly. Baya took the opportunity to walk away from him and ran to Lu Shuang. Cool girl. Lu Shuang pulled Baya behind him and glanced at Su Jiran with his beautiful eyes. Then, he glanced at the mess on the floor and was instantly displeased. I say, Minister Su, there are many women outside if you want. There's also one waiting for you in the military. Baya has an operation in the afternoon. Do you want her to not even have the strength to hold a knife? Su Jiran stared at Baya and saw her coldness and resistance. There was a strange light in his eyes. I'll pick you up tonight. I think we'll have to use our wedding room tonight. Baya frowned and watched Su Jiran walk past her. After he left, she immediately went to open the window. She did not like the smell of perfume and cigarettes on him. Chapter 40. Baya was terrified of Su Jiran. She hadn't taken her annual leave yet. She had asked for leave, so her phone was turned off. When she reached the entrance of the hospital, two strange men blocked her way. Baya had a bad feeling. She said sternly, "What do you want? There are cameras here. You can't escape even if you kidnap me." "Madam, Minister Su said that if you come out, we will take you back." Baya didn't expect that Su Jiran would even consider that she wanted to leave early. "I'm afraid I'm not free right now. I have a gathering with my friends. I'll be back later." Baya refused and walked past the two men. The two men held Baya's hands and said coldly, "I'm sorry, madam. Minister Su said that no matter what excuse you have, we will take you to the villa." Baya was almost dragged away. She was very scared and struggled. "Let me go. Let me go. I don't want to go back. What's the difference between you and kidnapping?" Her struggle was useless. She was taken to the parking lot. She saw Lieutenant Colonel Shang get out of the car, and immediately greeted him. "Lieutenant Colonel Shang, Lieutenant Colonel Shang." Lieutenant Colonel Shang looked at her in surprise. "He's a Special Forces soldier. Let me go," Baya said to the people who were dragging her in disgust. The men looked at each other and loosened their grip. Baya broke free and quickly ran towards Lieutenant Colonel Shang. "Are you here to see Lieutenant Colonel Gu?" "I'm here to bring food," Lieutenant Colonel Shang replied. Baya saw the two men staring at her fiercely. She said in panic, "Let's go up together. I'm going to see him too." She walked forward, and the two men actually followed behind her all the way. Her brows furrowed tightly. She followed Lieutenant Colonel Shang to Gu Lingqing's ward. She lowered her head and glanced at Gu Lingqing. He said that to his grandmother. She thought of the last scene and blushed. She was the one who ran away. Now she was a lamb in a tiger's mouth. Gu Lingqing glanced at Baya and pretended not to see her. "Lieutenant Colonel, here's your food," Lieutenant Colonel Shang said respectfully. He put the food on the bedside table and shook Gu Lingqing's bed. Baya didn't dare to walk forward. She stood at the door and felt restrained. "You can go now. You don't have to stay here with me," Gu Lingqing said to his grandmother. Since you are in love with that girl from the Su family, hurry up and marry her. Give me a few great-grandchildren. I don't know how long I can live," Gu Lingqing's grandmother urged. "I know what I'm doing. I'll solve my own problems," Gu Lingqing said coldly. "I've watched you solve it for a long time, but you still haven't solved it," Gu Lingqing's grandmother complained. Gu Lingqing looked at Lieutenant Colonel Shang. "Send my grandmother back." Baya became nervous and clenched her fists. It was Su Jiran outside and Gu Lingqing inside. She couldn't afford to offend either of them. Lieutenant Colonel Shang sent Gu Lingqing's grandmother out. Her grandmother glanced at Baya. She thought she was a caretaker. She didn't care and walked out of the room. Gu Lingqing stared at her. Baya didn't dare to look up. She bit her lip and clenched her fists. Gu Lingqing chuckled. "Are you going to keep quiet?" Baya was shy. She explained. "There are two men outside who want to catch me. I'm hiding here." Gu Lingqing picked up his phone and made a call. "There are two men following Baya. Go and deal with them." Baya looked at him. He helped her again. "Come here," Gu Lingqing said. Baya stood in place and did not move. She wanted to go out, but she was afraid that they hadn't finished dealing with them. "Do you want me to come over and hug you?" Gu Lingqing said. Baya's ears turned red. She walked towards his cramped body. She stood in front of the bed. Gu Lingqing looked at her and didn't say a word. He was born to be a king. He had a strong sense of oppression. Did I scare you just now? Gu Lingqing's tone softened. Bai Ye nodded. I'll be gentler next time, Gu Lingqing said, a little annoyed. Next time? There would be a next time? Bai Ye's heart was beating so fast that it almost jumped out of her throat. Gu Lingqing's phone rang. He picked it up. Sir, it's been solved. I sent them to the police station. They won't be released for a week. Gu Lingqing replied. Bai Ye heard the voice on the phone. I'm leaving now. I'll visit you another day. She almost ran away in defeat again. Gu Lingqing looked at her back helplessly. In Su Jiran's villa. He was listening to the report on the phone. A cold light flashed and he ordered. Ask Miller to do something. This battle has made Gu Lingqing too idle. Yes. Su Jiran turned around and looked at Little Black, who was kneeling on the ground. Minister Su, please spare my life. I was just following Sen's instructions. Little Black wailed, and the bright chain was stained with dirty blood. Su Jiran looked at Little Black coldly. Did anything happen between my woman and Gu Lingqing after they were drugged? Little Black was not stupid. He hurriedly said. No, their clothes were neat when they were rescued. Su Jiran's anger disappeared a lot. He knew that Bai Ye would not let others touch her. If she wanted to touch her, she would have done it long ago. Even if she was drugged, she would still keep her chastity for him. It seemed that he should really share his wealth with this woman. Minister Su, what should we do with him? Su Jiran's subordinate asked. Lock him up first. The best part is yet to come. Su Jiran raised the corner of his mouth. He pulled off his tie and called the director of obstetrics and gynecology. I'm Su Jiran. I want to give Bai Ye a surprise tonight. Please do me a favor. I happen to have 2 tickets to Hawaii. I'll ask someone to give them to you. Asterisk. As soon as Bai Ye came out of the hospital, the director of obstetrics and gynecology called her. Bai Ye, it's an emergency. The hypertensive pregnant woman in bed 32 is about to give birth. Her husband asked you to come back to deliver the baby. Bai Ye was stunned. How did the director know that she was at the door? It was an emergency. She had no time to think and ran to the obstetrics and gynecology department in a hurry. When she came out of the operating room, Su Jiran stood in front of her and smiled wickedly. It seemed that he had been waiting for her for a long time. Bai Ye was shocked. She ignored him and forced her way over. Su Jiran grabbed her hand. Let go of me. Bai Ye turned around and glared at him. Su Jiran smiled and carried her up in his arms. Are you touched? I'll take you to our wedding room in person. I'm not touched. Have you had enough fun, Su Jiran? Bai Ye was trembling with fear. Su Jiran looked down at her and looked even more devilish. I'll have fun. If you perform well, I'll let bygones be bygones. I'll even let you have my child. From now on, your position as Mrs. Su will be as stable as a mountain. She did not want to have his child. She did not want to have anything to do with this devil. Chapter 41. She was thrown into the car by Su Jiran. He locked the door. His subordinate drove. Boss Su, we're being followed. What should we do? Su Jiran's subordinate looked at the rearview mirror and suddenly said. Su Jiran turned around and saw an Audi following behind them. A man lowered the brim of his hat and held a mobile phone in his hand, following them closely. Su Jiran smiled cynically. It's going to be rush hour soon. Play with him. Yes. Bai Ye saw them circling around the city center and had a bad feeling in her heart. What was Su Jiran trying to do? Gu Lingqing listened to the report from the other end of the phone and said in a deep voice. Did she leave voluntarily or unwillingly? She was dragged into the car by force. Gu Lingqing's soldier reported the truth. A sharp light flashed across Gu Lingqing's eyes. Which road are you on now? If necessary, invite him to the police station. It's very strange. Chief, I seem to have been exposed. His car has been circling around the city center. I understand. You continue to follow. Gu Lingqing hung up the phone and turned to face Lieutenant Colonel Shang. He ordered seriously, call the doctor to remove my cast. That was a matter between a husband and wife. Was the chief too concerned? But what? Gu Lingqing replied in one sentence. Lieutenant Colonel Shang didn't dare to say anything. Immediately informed the director of the traffic police department. Send the real-time video of the city center to my phone. Gu Lingqing ordered again. His eyes were cold and irresistible. Lieutenant Colonel Shang swallowed his saliva without any ambition. He put his feet together, puffed out his chest and sucked in his stomach, and saluted. Yes, Chief. 5 o'clock. The rush hour began. There were more and more passers-by. In just 5 minutes, the traffic was heavy. Su Jiran's eyes shone with brilliance. He ordered arrogantly, let's start. Yes. Baya saw the car speeding up. The car drifted on the road. Ah. Baya staggered in the car and screamed. Su Jiran cast a sidelong glance at her, admiring her unbearable pain, as if it was a punishment. The smile in his eyes deepened. He never knew that his wife could be so cute even when she was embarrassed. Baya glared at him and grabbed the handle above the door at the right time to stabilize her body. She saw a woman riding an electric scooter in front of her, also running a red light. Su Jiran's car did not slow down at all. Baya's heart skipped a beat. She shouted anxiously, "Stop the car. Stop the car. It's going to crash." Not only did the number of his subordinates not decrease, but they also charged forward. The woman on the electric scooter was frightened and drove the scooter randomly. Su Jiran's car passed by the woman. Baya turned around. The woman ran straight into a car behind her. She was sent flying. Su Jiran had no regard for human life. She never knew that he could be so bad. Why did she marry such a cruel and bloodthirsty man? She used to love him so much. Now she finally knew how stupid she was. Su Jiran. She's dead. Baya said anxiously. Su Jiran smiled evilly. I didn't hit her. She ran the red light herself. Her driving skills are not good. If you hadn't been driving so fast, would this have happened? Baya was not calm and knocked him on the head. She had used up all her strength. He looked at her evilly as if it did not matter. Baya, congratulations. You've successfully aroused my interest. Aren't you too arrogant? Do you think that I'm arousing your interest? Baya glared and roared. I'm interested in you. Isn't that what you've been waiting for? I'll allow you to be unreasonable for a while, but I won't allow you to be unreasonable for a long time. Su Jiran's eyes were filled with danger. Don't you understand? Baya's chest was heaving up and down. She had completely lost her rationality. Not everyone will wait for you in the same place after being hurt, and not everyone will continue to be a bitch. In the future, we will go our separate ways. Please don't interfere with my freedom anymore. Let me out of the car. Su Jiran narrowed his eyes and observed her angry face. He saw determination in Baya's eyes. It was not the scheming he had always thought. This caused a flash of panic in his heart. You're my wife. Why can't I interfere? Su Jiran asked coldly. Wife? Su Jiran, when you cheated on me, did you ever think that you had a wife? When you got someone pregnant, did you ever think that you had a wife? When you sent me to the gates of hell in exchange for your girlfriend's safety, did you ever think that I was your wife? Baya screamed hysterically. Su Jiran grabbed her chin. But you're still Mrs. Su, aren't you? Baya looked into Su Jiran's eyes coldly. I don't care anymore. Su Jiran's eyes were cold. He tightened his grip on Baya's chin. Baya, say it again. There are many women in this world who want to marry me, Su Jiran. If you get divorced, don't expect me, Su Jiran, to look at you again. Think carefully before you answer. He felt strangely uncomfortable. His breathing became heavier and heavier. He was inexplicably nervous about her answer. Baya felt that his straight man cancer had reached the terminal stage. If we get divorced and die of old age, there's no need to see each other anymore, Baya said firmly. As soon as she finished speaking, his thick breath, with the smell of tobacco, assaulted her. He kissed her lips. When his red lips touched hers, Su Jiran felt an electric current flowing from his lips to his heart. Her lips were very soft, like cotton candy. With her fragrance, he sucked hard, as if he was punishing her. Baya felt the sting on her lips come and go. Her eyes were clear. She clenched her fists. No matter how painful it was, she would not cry out. She knew clearly that Sujieran did not know how to be gentle with a woman. Even if she was in pain, he would not let go. She could only grit her teeth and not let him go. Sujieran's breath became more and more rapid. Baya, let me tell you, I won't get divorced before I get tired of you, Sujieran said firmly. His eyes were dyed red. I will only disgust you. Baya squeezed these words out of her teeth. A sharp glint flashed in his eyes. It was a dangerous glint. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.